Lovely Serafina. Poor Serafina. Have you had enough fun yet? Those puppet shows on the stage. A black-gloved hand suddenly tightens the strings. That is the most dazzling protagonist in the world under the spotlight. My friend, Serafina? Serafina Lopez. Haven't you had your fill of playing with those puppets on stage? A fair hand pinches two simple cloth dolls. You should bid those clinging dolls a final farewell. Serafina turns to the side, her green hair fluttering in the wind. 5 fingers suddenly tighten. The puppet shatters in her palm. Cloth fragments and stuffing scatter everywhere. I'm going to ruin this puppet show you've put on for everyone. Farewell, you hypocrite. The Imperial Palace Banquet Hall. Just as I thought. The banquet hall is teeming with people. Miss Lopez is surrounded by nobles vying for her attention. There's hardly any room to even stand. She truly is the darling of high society. I'd love to go over and say hello. 2 noble women hold their wine glasses, their gaze cutting through the crowd, landing on the focal point in the distance. But that person isn't by her side today. You mean Miss NC? The one who always follows Lopez around like a shadow? Exactly, that woman who's always running errands of her own accord. She used to look so shabby at every ball. I honestly thought she was a maid from somewhere. She used to be glued to Lopez. It was as if she had separation anxiety. I wonder where she is today. Lariette enters the venue with elegant steps. Her long hair cascades like silk, causing everyone around to turn their heads. Heavens, who is that lady? She is so incredibly elegant. Lariette stops in her tracks, tilting her head slightly. That lady just now, could it be? Those harsh words falling from the mouths of passers-by were the labels high society once pinned on me. An errand girl. Serafina's lack, enduring a dependency like separation anxiety, even reduced to a lowly shoeshiner. You intentionally let people call me those nicknames, didn't you? Serafina. Lopez turns her face slightly, a cold curve forming at the corner of her mouth. A pink-haired noblewoman gasps, covering her face. Her eyes closely follow that figure. Which house is that young lady from? She's absolutely stunning. This dress is indeed beautiful. Unfortunately, it no longer suits the person I am today. Serafina sits on a red velvet bench. Her green hair spills over her pink floral gown. She rests her folded hands on her lap. The surrounding murmurs swell like the tide. Miss Lopez, would you grace me with a dance today? Please, consider me. I have been waiting for so long. To me, you are the only dance partner. Serafina sits on the red bench, gently brushing her green hair behind her ear. A bashful smile graces her lips. Oh my, saying such things really makes me blush. You are as beloved as ever, Serafina. She is truly the undisputed beauty of high society. Lariette. Moving through the bustling crowd. Gentlemen, please excuse us for a moment. Serafina. I'm here. Serafina looked up, a flash of complex emotion crossing her eyes. Ah, Larry. Sorry to keep you waiting. I was delayed a bit because we arrived separately. The noblemen nearby froze in their tracks, their eyes locked onto her figure. Wait, is that Miss Unsi? This stunning beauty. Is it really her? 2 noble women huddled together, their gazes wavering between Lariette and Serafina. Is that really the same gloomy woman from before? She's like a completely different person. And besides, isn't that dress a custom piece by Madame Savinov? Even the hair accessories are the latest from Cherman. High-end items like those? I doubt even Miss Lopez has. Keep your voice down. Shall hear you. Serafina's hands clenched tightly in her lap, her fingertips digging deep into the fabric of her pink floral dress. She slowly rose to her feet, her voice devoid of emotion. Laurie, you must have been looking forward to today's ball. To think you put so much effort into your preparation. Serafina raised her hand and leaned close to Lariette's ear, her voice barely a whisper. But what should we do about this? This dress and these jewels don't seem to suit you at all. Your features are far too plain. When you wear such luxurious things, Don't you feel they're a bit out of place? Serafina lowered her gaze, a hint of pity in her expression. You must have spent a fortune. What a shame. If you had told me sooner, I would have chosen something more suitable for you. After all, I'm the one who knows you best. Laurie, did you dress like this just to spite me? Evangeline suddenly snapped her folding fan shut, with a sharp, crisp sound. The surrounding nobles moved aside, a wave of commotion breaking out through the crowd. Ah, it's Lady Claudius! Evangeline closed her dark blue fan, her blonde hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall. Actually, I handpicked that dress myself. If Serafina is the lily of the social world, then the most brilliant and dazzling rose at this moment is this one right here. Evangeline Vaughn, Claudius, the only daughter of the Empire's sole ducal house. Serafina, the person standing by my side is no longer yours? A wave of disbelief rippled through the onlookers. The nobles exchanged looks, whispering the shocking news to one another. Why? Why is Lady Claudius siding with her? Why is Lady Claudius even here? Evangeline turned her head, watching the stiffened Serafina, with a playful smile on her lips. Are you and Laurie that close? And draped her arm intimately over Lauriette's shoulder. Laurie, I personally oversaw her entire look today. But judging by everyone's reaction, your assessment seems to be quite inaccurate. Serafina's eyes widened in shock. What? She actually used that woman's nickname? Evangeline narrowed her eyes slightly. You say these clothes don't suit her? Are you questioning whether my taste is refined enough? Serafina's face turned deathly pale. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. No, I didn't mean it like that. Evangeline let out a light chuckle and elegantly turned away with Lauriette. Compared to those mediocre people who judge others as they please, Laurie is clearly much more beautiful. Evangeline tilted her head slightly, an aura of unquestionable authority in her gaze. Don't you agree? The noblemen nearby swallowed hard. Their expressions became awkward and flustered. Yes. I had no idea Miss Unsi was so beautiful. Lady Claudius's taste is truly remarkable. I am certain she will definitely be the most eye-catching lady at the ball tonight. Serafina stood not far away. Her rosy cheeks instantly turned pale. She lowered her head. Her shoulders began to tremble violently. There was a clear sob in her voice. Laurie, how could you do this to me? I was just giving you advice as a friend. Just because you've befriended the Duke's sister, are you going to treat me like this? Serafina raised her hand, covering her face. Tears slipped through her fingers. Evangeline watched the scene coldly, letting out a contemptuous sneer. Because you can't talk back to me, you've started attacking Laurie instead? Stop using tears to cover up your mistakes, Miss Lopez. And remember, friends shouldn't boss each other around. She reached and tightly gripped the back of Lauriette's hand. If you still want to maintain this relationship, shouldn't you apologize to Laurie first? Evangeline withdrew her gaze, refusing to look at that tear-streaked face any longer. Let's go. Lauriette obediently followed. Behind her, all right, Lady Claudius. Serafina stood alone in the shadows, a muffled sob escaping her throat. She jerked her head up. Her eyes were still brimming with tears, but her expression instantly turned dark and terrifying. Lady Claudius. Lady Claudius, thank you for helping me just now. Evangeline came to a halt. Her voice was cold and clear. Listen closely. I gave you this dress, not because I like you. If the person standing by my side looks shabby, it would be embarrassing for me. She slightly turned her face away. The reason I spoke up is because I don't like my people being looked down upon. Evangeline turned around, her expression becoming a bit awkward. To prevent this from happening again, just stay by my side from now on. Do you understand? Lauriette raised her hand, her fingertips lightly touching her lower lip. A faint smile flickered in her red eyes. She truly lives up to her reputation as a villainess. She lifted her intricate white hem and quickly caught up with the proud figure ahead. Of course I will always stay by your side.
Lady Claudius?
You are my everything. Evangeline's eyes suddenly widened. She let Lariette hold her hands tightly. This is simply the best outcome. The tea party at the Johnson estate a few weeks ago. Sunlight filtered through the lush leaves, scattering across the open lawn and the neatly arranged tables and chairs. This is the world of Lariette Annecy. What's going on? I've actually become her? She looked around, her view blocked by the thick cushions piled in her arms. She couldn't see the path ahead at all. This absurd situation was only suddenly realized after the possession. Lariette tightly hugged the cushions in her arms, standing there somewhat awkwardly. Syrah, are you all right? A man dressed in lavish clothing approached. He gazed with concern at the green-haired girl sitting on the bench. I was worried you'd get tired, so I brought these cushions over. Gregory knelt beside the bench, reaching out to touch Seraphina's shoulder. His voice was full of concern. After sitting for so long, do you feel tired? Does your back hurt? Seraphina reached out and placed her hand over Gregory's. Thank you, Gregory. I'm fine. She looks up, a sweet smile playing on her lips. You're so thoughtful. I'm so glad you're worried about me. Those two, they're my childhood friends. Even though this is the first time I'm seeing them with my own eyes, I can feel it. We used to be very close. Lariette pulls her gaze away, a hint of confusion in her eyes. But according to my memories, he is clearly my fiancé. So what on earth is he doing right now? Gregory picks up an exquisite teacup and holds it out to Seraphina. Syrah, this is your favorite Darjeeling. Drink it while it's hot. Seraphina takes the cup. Thank you, Gregory. We really should thank Countess Johnson. This garden party has brought back so many childhood memories. She takes a sip of the black tea. The three of us used to go on outings all the time. Right, do you remember when Laurie fell into the water? It was such a scare. Gregory turns his head. That's right, you even have a scar on your beautiful knee, from trying to save her. He turns to look at Lariette, his tone turning cold and stern. Laurie, you're only because of Seraphina, so you should be grateful, and treat her better from now on. She hunches over, clutching the cushion. Why can't I fight back? My lips feel too heavy to even open. Suddenly, another memory flashes in my mind. It was that day I fell into the pond as a child. Laurie fell into the freezing water. She reached her hand up desperately, but her fingertips could only touch breaking bubbles. The feeling of suffocation followed her like a shadow. Seraphina stood on the bank, her green hair fluttering in the wind. She clutched a long, thin wooden stick, extending it toward the struggling child. Lariette. She pulled her toward the shore with all her might. The person who saved me really was Seraphina. Lariette suddenly claws at the grass on the bank, her fingertips sinking deep into the soil. She scrambles onto the shore in a pathetic state, soaked to the bone. Curled up on the lawn, she coughs violently, gasping for air. Seraphina walks over to her side, looking down at her from above. Laurie, are you okay? Seraphina stands in the sunlight, a gentle yet cold smile on her face. You really should be more careful. She picks up her teacup and takes an elegant sip. Was it all just to make me owe her an unpayable debt of gratitude? Is that why I was always so submissive? Doing whatever I was told, without ever saying a word. Seraphina gasps. The teacup in her hand tilts slightly. Oops, Lariette's eyes snap open. Wait, Seraphina grips Lariette's wrist tightly. Laurie, I need your help. Can you help me pick those flowers in the pond? I can't reach them. She pulls Lariette toward the edge of the pond, an innocent smile on her face. You know, you're my only right. Seraphina opens her arms and gives Lariette an intimate hug. Seraphina, the real reason I fell into the water was actually because of you, wasn't it? Oh dear, I accidentally spilled my tea. What should I do? Laurie, my dress is wet, and it looks like my shoelace is loose too. I'm such a mess right now. She rests her right hand on her chest, her eyes filled with an entitled expectation. Can you come over and help me? Lariette stands still, clutching the heavy cushion. Why? Did I ever put up with someone like her? Gregory spun around suddenly. His brows were furrowed tight. Laurie, what are you doing? Sierra is in trouble right now. Hurry over and help her. He strode towards Serafina. He reached out to support her shoulders. His movements were gentle yet urgent. Sierra, don't worry. Laurie will be here to fix your cushion in a second. The noble ladies in the distance gathered together. Their gazes swept back and forth across Lauriette. Whispers began to spread through the air. Miss Unsi is working like a maid again. It seems that's the only way she can manage to stay by Miss Lopez's side. Even though she could hear those biting jeers, why was this body still obeying of its own accord? She was kneeling on the grass. Her hands were humbly smoothing out Serafina's hem. The chatter around her intensified. She's the heir to the Annecy Viscountcy, and yet she's kneeling there with no dignity at all. She's practically Miss Lopez's lackey. That somber dress of hers makes her look even more like a lowly servant. Compared to Annecy, Miss Lopez's beauty is certainly more striking. Isn't that right, Lauriette? Annecy heard those insults. Are you really going to just sit there and take this? They are looking down on you from their high horses, toying with your strings as if you were a puppet. Lauriette snapped her head up. A fire of rage ignited in her crimson eyes. Are you not angry at all, Lauriette? Don't give up as easily as the book says. Absolutely do not suffer through this in silence. Get off me. You eyesore. Lauriette let out a roar. She threw all her strength into her arms and shoved Serafina right off her seat. Her movements were decisive and fierce. Serafina let out a scream. Her body lost its balance. She toppled backward. She hit the grass with a heavy thud, falling flat on her back in a pathetic heap. Serafina's eyes went wide. Her cheeks flushed red with utter shock. Her hands froze in midair. She couldn't process what had just happened. Gregory glared forward in a rage. Lauriette, have you lost your mind? What on earth are you doing? Lauriette looked down at her right hand. Her fingers were trembling slightly. Oh, she slowly raised her head. Her dark hair drifted in the breeze. Her unsensitive body now felt incredibly light. I can finally act on my own will. A novel titled Lovely Serafina. Sierra once lived in a remote village. Although she wasn't wealthy, she was always generous in helping the poor. It was a performance fueled by her kind heart. People were moved by that innocence. They pooled their resources to send her into high society. Everyone hoped she would find a good match. However, due to Claudius's jealousy and malice, she had to face cruel trials. The brave Sierra overcame every hardship. They eventually found true love and lived happily ever after. In this story, I was just a childhood friend with zero presence. Even in the illustrations, I was only shown from behind. She raised a hand to her forehead. A character whose face was completely hidden. It's obviously pathetic. Then Gregory rushed forward. Sierra, are you okay? Should I call a doctor? A flash of ruthlessness crossed Serafina's eyes. That too is the true protagonist of this story. Gregory whipped his head around. Lauriette, what are you just standing there for? Get over here and apologize. Sierra nestled weakly in his arms. It's all right, Gregory. The surrounding whispers surged like a tide. Miss Lopez actually ended up flat on her back just now. Is it because Gregory? Did the young master push her down on purpose? After all, he was originally the fiancé of the Annecy Viscountcy. I should have told you to be kinder to Sierra. Sierra suddenly let out a soft cry. Her body swayed as she fell backward. Gregory, I feel like I'm having another dizzy spell. She lifted her tear-filled eyes and gazed at the red-faced man in front of her. Can I lean on you for a moment? I was so frightened just now. I feel like I'm about to cry. Gregory clenched his teeth, his cheeks flushing with rage. If anything happens to the fragile Sierra, how do you intend to take responsibility? Lauriette. He whipped around and carefully supported Sierra, who was slumped on the ground. It's all right, Sierra. I'll call for a doctor immediately. Lariette stood quietly where she was. I understand. So, could you please lower your voice? Are they trying to make me jealous? Such amateur acting is truly nauseating. She took a deep breath, calming the waves in her heart. Help her up first. I will apologize. Sierra tilted her head slightly. An unusual glint flickered in her eyes. Lariette caught that look instantly, and suspicion rose within her. What on earth does that expression mean? According to the script, shouldn't she be looking down right now? Apologizing to me as if she were at death's door? Lariette, what has gotten it? Why have you suddenly become so unreasonable? As Miss Annecy said, perhaps it would be better for her to stand up first. Countess Johnson folded her hands in front of her. Young Master Gregory and Miss Lopez, to ensure our distinguished guests are not harmed, we have made thorough preparations in advance. Shall I have you both escorted to the lounge? Gregory snapped his head up, his eyes widening. Just laying down a carpet. You dare call that thorough preparation? If the fragile Sierra receives even the slightest shock, she could suffer serious injury. I think it's safer to call a doctor right here. That is only proper. Countess Johnson watched this scene in silence. Wait, what? What nonsense are you talking about? This is a meticulously manicured soft lawn, laid with the finest quality carpets. Even the refreshments were prepared in advance based on the guests' tastes. Dozens of maids are lined up, ready to assist the guests at any moment. Gregory, your words just now completely ignore our hostess's thoughtfulness. Lariette pressed her hand to her temple. Thick, soft padding is spread everywhere. Sierra fell onto that. Do you really think she would be injured? If rumors spread that someone was hurt at this tea party, the hostess's reputation would be ruined instantly. I will never allow such a thing to happen. She took a step forward. I apologize to you, Countess Johnson. The accident just now happened while I was checking Miss Sarah's shoes. The commotion was caused by my blunder. I am terribly sorry. Thank you all for your concern. She bowed deeply, her posture humble, yet her tone calm. Gregory froze on the spot. Falling while having her shoes checked? What kind of ridiculous situation was this? Lariette gently brushed her hair. Since the shoelaces were tied tightly, that makes it even strange. Perhaps I should have checked them more carefully? Sierra suddenly pulled her foot back, her body stiffening in shock. Lariette folded her hands in front of her. I'm sorry, Serafina. I only touched you lightly. I didn't expect your body to be so frail, that you would fall just like that. Can you forgive me for this foolish mistake?
He slowly reached out his right hand.
Just like he used to. I will gently help you up. You should be able to do that. Right, wait a minute. Are you saying that Miss Lopez intentionally made Miss Annecy kneel? Countess Johnson placed a hand over her chest, a hint of scrutiny in her eyes. Serafina jerked her head up, her face filled with panic. Ah, no. There must be some misunderstanding. Miss Lopez even spilled her tea. She must have lost her composure at the time. Miss Annecy was only trying to help clean up. After all, Countess Johnson watched him in silence. Icy, please stand up for now. I will send someone to handle the mess here. She turned around and gave instructions to the maid on standby. Escort the guests out. The maid bowed respectfully. Yes, Countess Johnson. She stepped forward. I hope you can continue to enjoy the rest of your time. Miss Lopez. Serafina stood there, dazed. Countess. Laurie turned her head slightly. This must be your first time experiencing this, right? The feeling of being completely ignored, Serafina Lopez. I've had to endure this feeling for my entire life. She turned around, letting her long hair fly in the wind, leaving Serafina behind to cry out in despair. Countess, please wait. A few days later, at the Annecy Viscountcy, sunlight spilled over the grand exterior walls of the manor. Everything seemed quiet and solemn. The maid gently pushed open the heavy, making a soft click. My lady Miss Lopez and young Master Gregory have been sending letters constantly. And then there's this one. Laurie sat at her desk, a quill held tightly in her hand. She interrupted without looking back. Throw all of those into the fireplace. I have more important matters to attend to. So, please take care of those letters for me. The maid bowed respectfully. As you wish, my lady. Laurie picked up the documents on the desk. That's right, this is the most urgent matter in my life. Besides this, what else could there be? On the pristine white paper, several cold, bold words were written. Application for annulment of engagement. Laurie gripped the wooden-handled seal and pressed the hot red wax onto the envelope. This should be enough. Having referenced other cases, this document is now perfect. I must cut ties with them as soon as possible. Even if there is only one goal right now, I won't let people who treat me like a maid bother me anymore. Although Gregory comes from a count's family, he is only the second son and cannot inherit the title. Naturally, he wants to marry me. After all, I am the heir to the Annecy Viscountcy with its own territory. As long as he marries me, he can gain both status and land at the same time. My parents saw through his true colors and tried desperately to stop this marriage. This alone is enough to explain the nature of this engagement. Laurie pressed the envelope onto the desk. For the peace of the NC family, this letter must be sent out immediately. She walked toward the door with the envelope. The door was suddenly burst open. Gregory strode into the room, breathing heavily. His expression was dark and restless. Laurie retreated half a step in shock. Gregory stood at the threshold of the light, his brow furrowed, a suppressed rage in his eyes. The maid followed closely behind, appearing at the door, bowing her head in a panicked apology. My lady, I wanted to ask him to wait in the drawing room first. It's fine. Go wait outside with Hans. The maid obediently withdrew, softly closing the door. Laurie raised her fingertips. She gently rubs her throbbing temples. Gregory, are you really planning to just barge in like this? Laurie, just how disrespectful can you be? He questions her loudly, disregarding all etiquette. You didn't reply to my letters and you even ignored my summons. Have you gone mad? Barging into my room without knocking. Gregory, aren't you the one who's lost his mind? She raises her chin slightly, her tone steady and cold. I've been ill, so I couldn't reply. Is there something so urgent? Gregory takes a step closer. After the way you left the picnic that day, do you have any idea how much trouble I've been in? Apologize to Sierra and me right now. Laureate suddenly bends over and presses the back of her hand to her lips, coughing violently. Cough, cough, cough. She looks up slightly. What did you just say? I couldn't hear you clearly over my coughing. Could you please say that again? Gregory stands there, stunned, his mouth hanging slightly open.
He looks completely at a loss.
Do I not even have the right to feign illness? Dealing with your nonsense is a complete waste of my time and energy. Laureate sits back down in her chair. Gregory, apologize. Aren't you the one who should be apologizing? Refusing to wait in the drawing room and forcing your way into a lady's bedroom instead. This is the height of rudeness. Gregory grits his teeth, the veins on his temples bulging. But I am your fiancé. This level of familiarity. Laureate cuts him off coldly. You had better choose your words carefully. Gregory, since that picnic, when you prioritized Serafina over me, and then sent days' worth of harassing letters, is that how a fiancé is supposed to act? Gregory throws his hands out, his voice full of arrogant entitlement. Sierra is my childhood friend, so of course I stayed by her side. Aren't you even a little worried about her? He lets out a cold sneer. That's right, Laurie. You've never had an ounce of consideration. Who would want to stay engaged to a woman as thoughtless as you? Until I decide to forgive you, you'd better watch your tone. Laureate holds an envelope between her fingertips and slowly raises it. You're right. I was thinking the exact same thing. She closes her eyes, a bright, gentle smile blooming on her face. This is our application to dissolve the engagement. I shall grant your wish. Gregory freezes instantly, his pupils trembling with shock. What, these last few days? You were so busy taking care of your precious childhood friend That you didn't even notice your own fiancé was ill. I don't want a man like that either. So let's break up. If you don't want to take this, I'll send it out myself. I need to rest now. So could you please leave? Gregory stumbles back a step, flustered. Laurie, you actually. Lauriette turns her body away. She raises a hand to cover the corner of her mouth. Amy, Hans, our guest is leaving. Please see him out politely. Yes, my lady. Hans, the burly butler, stands in the doorway, like a massive stone tower. Sir Gregory, allow me to escort you to your carriage. At the sight of Hans's broad frame, Gregory instinctively shrinks back. Fine, since you say you're sick, I'll take my leave for now. But as for the dissolution of our engagement, well, I'll discuss that later. Hans and Amy close in on either side of him and forcibly escort him out of the room, truly like a dead weight being dragged away by force. I finally managed to get rid of her. She leaned against the wall, drained of strength. First, my fiancé barged in. Then I was accused of being crazy. Just because I annoyed the protagonist? Do I have to suffer through this constant harassment? Laurie sank into the armchair. As a side character, living is nothing but pure torture. I really want to rest for a while. Even if the engagement is called off, will life actually change? The people in this world all revolve around the protagonist. Loving her unconditionally is a setting engraved into them from birth. She is the center of this world. As a side character, can I truly escape from the protagonist's trap? Come to think of it, the people manipulated by Sira and plunged into misery are unlimited to just me.
Claudius.
That notorious villainess, who constantly created hardship and misfortune for Sira in the story. The male lead, Duke Claudius. In order to stop his sister's evil deeds, he inevitably became entangled with Sira. According to the original timeline, Sira shouldn't have any contact with Lady Claudius yet. But the situation has already become quite tricky. Sira has started spreading false rumors everywhere, maliciously slandering those who stand in her way. Laurie's eyes suddenly widened. Wait, if I think about it carefully, Sira is the real villain here, isn't she? She raised her glass in indignation and downed the red liquid in one gulp. Sira was clearly the one who started the trouble. Why should she get to harass Lady Claudius? Laurie set down her glass and let out a heavy, frustrated sigh. That lady and I are both victims of unprovoked harassment. Perhaps we could make Sira get a taste of her own medicine. If I team up with the similarly afflicted Lady Claudius, how would the story change then? Can I break this agonizing cliché? A deep, meaningful curve touched the corners of her lips. Yes, this will work. Laurie stood up abruptly from her seat. I've thought of a brilliant idea. The next morning, a letter sealed with wax was slowly opened with a letter opener. Evangeline sat on a soft chair by the window. She unfolded the stationery. Her gaze swept over the handwriting. She tilted her head slightly. A playful smile appeared on her lips. Duke Claudius approached, noticing her rare smile. Evan, who is this letter from? That has you smiling so happily. Well, I actually haven't heard of her before. But I'm certain of one thing. This young lady is quite bold. Evangeline picked up her exquisite teacup and took a sip of black tea. Laurie folded her hands together and rested her chin on them. Her eyes were filled with unmistakable anxiety. Amy, is that true? The maid Amy stood by the bed and bowed slightly. Yes, yesterday. You did indeed. Laurie recalled her absurd actions from yesterday. Amy, send this letter to Lady Claudius as soon as possible. She absolutely must see it. Amy spread her hands helplessly. Her brows were furrowed. You've already said that at least 10 times. Laurie threw herself face down onto the bed. I'm going crazy. I'm really losing it. I don't even remember what I wrote in that letter. Even if I really wanted to send a letter, I shouldn't have written it while drunk. Laurie closed her eyes in agony. I wish I could turn back time to yesterday. What if I wrote something weird? Or if the whole thing is full of typos. What should I do? The door was gently pushed open. A maid entered the room in a hurry. My lady, a guest has arrived. What should we do? Lariette looked a bit confused. Who is the guest? The maid bowed, lowering her voice. She replied, It is Miss Lopez. Lariette's gaze turned cold instantly. Even after sending Gregory over, did she still not get the apology she wanted? So now she plans to come here and cause trouble herself. She stood up. Mary, Amy. Go and tell that young lady. Lariette raised her hand to tidy a stray hair by her temple, a cold smile playing on her lips. Tell her I'm feeling unwell. If she wishes to see me, she'll have to come up here herself. Sorry, Sarah. I'm in no mood to play these boring games with you anymore. Serafina suddenly pushed open the door. Laurie, I heard you weren't feeling well. Are you all right? She walked over quickly and grabbed Lariette's hand. Her eyes were full of concern. You said you were feeling unwell just now. How are you feeling now? Lariette calmly pulled her hand back. Thank you for your concern. I'm feeling much better now. Serafina looked around the room, a hint of testing in her voice. I thought you couldn't even stand up. You've never invited me to your room before. Lariette lowered her gaze, hiding the coldness in her eyes. Since I wasn't feeling well, why should I have forced myself to go to the drawing room to see you? That's right. In the past, you were always the one calling for me. I've never even sat in your family's drawing room once. Instead of feeling like a guest, I felt more like a maid on call. If you really felt that way, I'm so sorry. Serafina. Sarah looked at her in silence. Oh, my Laurie. Serafina leaned in, her hands tightly gripping Lariette's shoulders. If only you had said something sooner. I really had no idea you felt this way all along. Lariette stared at the other's reflection, her breathing becoming heavy. Her body began to tremble involuntarily. This was a physiological. Just one sentence from Serafina could still make this body shudder. But I can't stay silent anymore. I have to overcome her. Laurie, if I can just speak as confidently as I did before. The door was suddenly thrown open. Amy, the maid, rushed into the room holding an envelope high. Miss, a reply. A reply, it's arrived, what? Amy stopped, panting for breath. Lady Claudius has sent a reply. Lariette's eyes widened. Is that true? Amy nodded vigorously. The ducal house even sent a carriage directly. This is definitely an invitation. I see, we'd better start getting ready right away. Serafina stood to the side, her expression turning dark and solemn. Lady Claudius? Why would she send you a letter? The lady actually sent an invitation? Serafina approached her quickly, her tone turning sharp and urgent. Laurie, stop joking around. How could you possibly have an invitation that even I haven't received? Isn't her reaction a bit too much? Serafina suddenly grabbed Lariette's wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. You just said it was a reply. What on earth did you send to the lady? I want to know. Exactly what did you say to get that invitation? Lariette was pulled forward. Her reaction was even more intense than expected. Why is she so obsessed with Lady Claudius? She forcefully shook off Serafina's hand. Even between friends, this level of prying is going too far. She turned around, turning her back on Serafina. Please leave. Serafina, I am preparing to see the lady now. Serafina stood frozen in place, her eyes filled with astonishment. What? Lariette calmly instructed the maid beside her. Amy, please see our guest out. Serafina gripped, staring gloomily at Lariette's retreating back. Laurie, I'm truly worried about you. Has this illness scrambled your brain? Lariette paused briefly. Who knows? Perhaps my mind has never been clearer than it is now. Then, please allow me to escort you to your carriage. Miss Lopez. The door clicked shut. Lariette stood alone in the empty room, looking down at the letter in her hand. Her body was still trembling slightly. She took a deep breath, and her tense shoulders finally relaxed. Did I really just kick Serafina out? That was the first time. Wow, this feeling is incredible. White doves flew past the magnificent ducal estate. The carriage slowly pulled up beside the fountain square. Miss Ansi, please come this way. Lariette stood before an ornate full-length mirror, repeatedly adjusting her intricate lace bow. I came in such a rush. Do I still look presentable? The lady must have liked my letter, to have invited me. Right. I just hope she doesn't think I'm a weirdo. The attendant slowly pushed open the heavy wooden door. A beam of light poured through the gap. Lariette straightened her back and walked into the flower-scented drawing room. She stopped abruptly, her eyes widening slightly in surprise. Gazing at the scene before her, her breath caught instantly. Evangeline stood on the terrace surrounded by blossoms, her golden hair cascading like a waterfall over her dark gown. She slowly turned her head, her gaze cold and noble. Lariette stood rooted to the spot, her breath stalling completely at that moment. She had read countless novels, but she had never been this captivated by any character. Her heartbeat was clearly audible in the silent room. Evangeline turned slightly. She raised her lace-gloved hand, gently brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Miss Ansi, is it Lariette's mind went blank? She is truly too beautiful. Her heart was racing so fast it felt like it would burst. Evangeline quietly gazed at the girl before her. Lariette suddenly snapped out of it, her body stiffening as she straightened up. Yes. She lifted the hem of her floral dress and performed a deep courtly curtsy. I am Lari, et Ansi. Greetings to Lady Claudius. Evangeline nodded slightly and pointed to the sofa opposite her. Please sit. Lariette sat down cautiously. Thank you. I apologize for the sudden invitation. Did it startle you? Lariette squared her shoulders, her eyes full of sincerity. No, it is an honor to say the least. Upon hearing this, Evangeline let out a relieved smile. That's good. They've prepared some Darjeeling tea. I hope it's to your liking. Lariette's heart leaped with joy. Darjeeling is my favorite. To think our tastes are exactly the same. Evangeline replied softly. Splendid, then. Please pass me your cup. I shall pour the tea for you. Lariette snapped her head up. Pardon me. Lariette waved her hands frantically in front of her. A lowly noble like myself, having my lady personally pour my tea? I do not mind. Miss Ansi. Evangeline reached out, her fingertips touching the edge of the porcelain teapot. Are you always this annoying? Lariette felt as if she'd been struck by lightning, her body giving a violent jolt. Her pupils contracted violently from sheer terror. I beg your pardon, what did you say? Did the first make a mistake? There must have been something strange in the letter. She anxiously wrung her fingers. Evangeline reached out and took the teapot. Since you want take it, then I shall serve you. Pouring tea isn't exactly a difficult task. She held the handle of the pot steadily. The clear tea poured into the cup, with a soft trick. Why are you suddenly belittling yourself like that? If I had only read that letter, I would have thought you were a very bold girl. She set down the teapot. Anyway, have some tea first. I also had some madeleines prepared. You really must try them. Lari stared at the refreshments in front of her. Her expression was a bit dazed. She's right. My behavior just now was indeed far too subservient. Ever since I was a child, I've always been at everyone's beck and call. Being overly cautious has become an unbreakable habit. Lari picked up the exquisite porcelain cup. This lady is just treating me as an ordinary guest. This kind of natural, proper courtesy actually makes me want to cry. She took a light sip of the warm tea, then looked up, a brilliant smile blossoming on her face. This tea tastes truly wonderful. My lady, Evangeline, sat across from her, gazing at the young girl with a calm expression. I'm glad you like it. Evangeline crossed her arms. She turned her head away and let out a small huff. I did indeed prepare the high-grade madeleines. Lari covered her mouth and giggled. So they really are the highest grade. She watched Evangeline. Though she looks a bit cold, she definitely isn't a villainess. One could even call her a gentle person. For someone like this to end up in a convent, for supposedly bullying Serafina, No matter how I look at it, it makes no sense. The misdeeds described in the novel seem more like crimes forced upon her just to drive the plot. And the source of all these incidents always seems to be those rumors spread by Serafina. The more she thought, the more suspicious it became. Compared to Evangeline, Serafina is the one who seems like the true villainess. So what exactly is Serafina, the protagonist, thinking? Evangeline set down her teacup. Miss Unsi, you mentioned in your letter that you have a way to help me restore my reputation. Right. Laurie suddenly straightened her back. Yes, I did indeed. Evangeline leaned forward slightly, scrutinizing her with a sharp gaze. Can you tell me what that method is? Laurie froze in place. She had thought it was just a ridiculous drunken whim, but now that sense of absurdity was fading away. The more she spoke with this lady, the more she could see the possibility of success. A confident curve formed at the corner of her lips. She slapped her right hand onto the table. The method is for you to become friends with me. If we side characters join forces, we can certainly escape our predetermined fates. Evangeline looked at her in disbelief. Friends, Laurie looked back at her firmly. That's right, friends. Because we share a common enemy. Evangeline's brow furrowed slightly. She repeated the words in a low voice. A common enemy. Laurie folded her hands over her knees. Before we get to the main point, I want to confirm something. May I talk about those rumors in high society regarding you? Evangeline was silent for a moment, then let out a sharp breath from her nose. She abruptly turned her head away, arms crossed. Do as you please, Laurie watched her tense profile. She looked so arrogant. I thought she wouldn't care about the rumors at all. It seems they actually bother her quite a bit. She took a deep breath. To be honest, everyone says that you are someone who utterly despises commoners. They even say you're so arrogant that you look down on everyone. And that's why you refuse to associate with others. No, that's... Evangeline was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Her fur stood on end instantly, and she let out a frantic shriek. To save face, she forced herself to suppress her runaway emotions, her movements freezing awkwardly in midair. Fine, just forget I said anything. Lauriette looked at her, her lips curling up involuntarily. She was much friendlier than the novel described. Her reactions were as amusing as a cat's. As long as you make friends and show the world a side of you that gets along with, your reputation will naturally recover. If you can lower your guard and become close with a lower-ranking noble like me, people will realize that you're no longer unapproachable. Evangeline lowered her eyes thoughtfully. Even if that's true, who exactly is this common enemy you mentioned? Lauriette held her breath. It was time to throw out the bait. I suspect that you, my lady, are currently suffering at Serafina's hands. Evangeline's eyes snapped open, her pupils trembling with shock. Exactly, that's it. She heavily slammed her hand on the table. It let out a dull, heavy thud. Evangeline stood up abruptly. That woman exploits people's kindness to spread rumors. She truly has no shame. She acts frail and helpless on the surface, but she's manipulating everyone behind their backs. Did that woman cause trouble for you as well? Seeing her heated reaction, the weight on Lauriette's heart finally lifted. It seemed she had already seen through Serafina's true face. This was incredibly lucky for me. That's right, I've also suffered because of her. Evangeline gave a cold snort. I thought your eyes were on the solace of your feet. After all, you were always hanging your head, following behind Lopez like a shadow. Did she have some kind of dirt on you? Or was something wrong with your back? Just watching you like that made my own bones ache. Evangeline's smile faded, and her expression turned grave. If this so-called common enemy is Lopez, does that mean you'll never associate with that woman again? Lauriette's eyes turned cold and resolute. As I said, from now on, I will never maintain that facade of friendship with Serafina, because she never viewed me as a friend. She didn't even treat me like a person. If a follower like me who used to be inseparable from her suddenly chooses to join forces with you, people won't just wonder why I left Serafina. They'll wonder why I chose you. Once these rumors start to build up, it will be a massive blow to Serafina. If we keep damaging her, she'll eventually show her true colors. Evangeline fell into a long silence. It's certainly not a bad strategy. She stood up and walked slowly toward the terrace. However, Miss Ansi, isn't this the first time we've met? I don't have enough confidence yet to take action alongside you. She turned her head slightly. Have you really cut ties with Lopez? You two were quite deeply entangled, after all. Lariette sat quietly. She's doubting me. That's only natural. Serafina is gradually destroying this lady's social standing. To her, my sudden appearance probably feels like a trap. Lariette stood up, wanting to break through this suspicion. It's actually quite simple. If you're worried that I'm a spy, please don't be. I can prove it to you, right here and now. My resolve to completely break away from that girl. She extended her right hand. If you're still feeling reluctant, then why don't we try being temporary friends for a while? Evangeline was taken aback.
Temporary friends.
The carriage hub ground over the pebbles, the road emitting a dull vibration. Your Grace, we have arrived at the estate. It is rare to see you back at this hour. Dietrich's expression held a rare hint of relaxation. Everyone needs a day like this once in a while. The state council meeting ended earlier than expected. He casually scanned the view outside the window, letting out a soft "oh." Is that Evangeline? Who is the young lady with her? Could she be a new friend? Watching Evangeline conversing with another, a playful curve formed on his lips. He let out a light chuckle. It's been quite a while. Just a moment ago she was so self-deprecating, and now she's confidently reaching out to me, a lady of high nobility. What a bold young lady indeed. How do you plan to prove it? She was quite cautious, but that only meant she was the perfect partner to join forces with and take down Serafina. She leaned slightly to the side, her tone steady and confident. That won't be difficult. I will handle all the negotiations. You only need to listen. Since this will be a long story, why don't you have a seat again? Evangeline slammed her teacup down. What? She widened her eyes in disbelief. Lopez did that on purpose. Spilling tea and even tying your shoelaces together? Lariette lowered her gaze. Yes, it only happened a few days ago. Evangeline furrowed her brows tightly, her eyes filled with disgust and anger. Lopez, that woman is even more malicious than I imagined. How could she treat her friend like that? Lariette raised her hand, gently wiping a tear from the corner of her eye. I simply couldn't endure it any longer. That's why I took the liberty of writing to you. After all, our current situations are so similar. If I don't expose Serafina's misdeeds, how else can I prove my sincerity? People always draw closer to each other when they discuss a common enemy. This is the so-called art of bonding over shared grievances. Miss Lariette. Lariette flinched, pulling back her shoulders. Yes? Evangeline firmly grasped Lariette's palms with both hands. Although you're a bit frustrating, you haven't done anything wrong. Choosing to cut ties now is the right decision. Stop wasting your time on someone like that. Lariette lowered her head slightly. Thank you for your comfort. However, she tightly squeezed Evangeline's hand in return. Does this hand mean that you are willing to accept me as your friend? Startled by this sudden proximity, Evangeline jumped back. Her body jerked away, like a cat that had its tail stepped on. Don't misunderstand. We're not at that level. We're just temporary friends. Temporary. Lariette broke into a radiant smile. Even as a temporary friend, it is my honor. I'm so glad you've accepted me. Evangeline rested her chin on one hand, lost in thought. Since you could expose Lopez's misdeeds without hesitation, I'm certain you are on my side. I was worried about how to restore my reputation, and your appearance has been a great help. This young lady seems a bit impatient. In the original novel, she didn't have this kind of personality. Evangeline crossed her arms over her chest, her fingertips tapping restlessly against her arm. Those strange rumors have left me walking on thin ice. both inside and outside the mansion. She lowered her gaze slightly, her expression full of frustration and resentment. It's not just me. The entire Duke's household is unsettled because of these rumors. After all, my dignity represents the pride of the Claudius family. My brother even threatened me that if the rumors continue, he would cut my allowance. Isn't that just despicable? Lariette listened quietly to her complaints. Her gaze, however, gradually became more profound. Wait, is this the trajectory of the original novel? The troublesome sister who was eventually banished from social circles. Could the few lines of description in the original work actually be starting this way? Although I'm not certain about everyone's personality, the progress of events seems to be following the plot of the original story. I must carefully recall every detail of the original work. So there really was a reason why the rumors spread like that. Evangeline curled her lips in a self-deprecating smirk. I know my personality is a bit sharp. I am indeed sensitive and prickly. My lady, didn't you just tell me not to belittle yourself? She pressed her hands together against her chest. Her eyes were full of admiration. I am completely captivated by your charming personality. You are so cool that you even make me want to become someone like you. Evangeline froze in place. But everyone always keeps their distance from. As soon as I open my mouth, they even shrink back in fear. Lariette shook her head vigorously. That's only because they've never had a deep conversation with you. In fact, seeing you like this makes me want to get to know you even better. To celebrate us becoming temporary friends, could you tell me more about yourself? Evangeline turned back with some hesitation. What kind of things? Lariette looked into her eyes. For instance, things you like, or what you'd like to receive from me. Evangeline fell into deep thought. Things I like, and things I want. Evangeline looked the young girl in front of her up and down. Well then, first of all, we have to do something about those tacky clothes you're wearing. With that kind of fashion sense, you aren't even qualified to be my temporary friend. Lariette's jaw dropped in astonishment. What? These are the most decent clothes in my wardrobe. She recalled her dilemma before leaving the house, comparing outfits in front of the mirror for a long time. She had specifically chosen this most eye-catching one. She had even checked it repeatedly before setting out. Evangeline sighed helplessly. I suppose it can't be helped. I'll recommend a salon I frequent to you. Now, listen carefully. Miss Lariette, since we're already out, let's take a stroll together. I've always wanted to try this, walking in a garden with someone my age. Lariette's eyes sparkled. A brilliant smile blossomed on her face. I would be more than happy to. My lady, the sunset glow bathed the courtyard. Before they knew it, the conversation had lasted the entire day. Lariette bowed slightly. Today has been very delightful. My lady Evangeline turned around. In that case, why don't you stay for dinner? Brother happens to have come home early too. Lariette's heart sank instantly. Her smile froze on her lips. Running into Serafina's future is definitely the worst-case scenario right now. She shook her head gently. I cannot impose on you any longer. Being able to talk with you is already the best gift for me. Evangeline seemed to suddenly recall something. The word gift reminded me. I have something to give you. Lariette's eyes widened in surprise. Give something to me. Evangeline turned around. Wait here for a moment. I'll be right back. Whatever you do, don't leave. Miss Lariette. Lariette stood obediently where she was. All right, I'll wait here. Evangeline hurried up the stairs. Her shoes clicked sharply against the stone tiles. But she stopped abruptly at the corner. Pardon me, Miss Lariette. Were you really just listening earlier? Without saying a single word. Lariette blinked awkwardly. I thought I had already answered all of your questions. Evangeline whipped her head around. How disappointing. What I want to know is about your personal preferences. It would be best if we got to know each other better. Don't be like you were with Miss Lopez, simply catering to someone else's every whim. Go and do the things that you actually enjoy. After all, you and I are temporary friends now. Laurie stood frozen on the spot. Her pupils dilated slightly in surprise. Her heart skipped a beat. Evangeline pulled her gaze away. Well then, I shall be right back. Lariette stood alone in the courtyard. A gentle breeze brushed through her long hair. She watched the departing figure, falling into a brief daze. In this entire life, this is the first time anyone has ever said such words to me. Not a relationship where I am tossed around at someone's convenience, but one of mutual respect and mutual understanding. Lariette lowered her gaze. Her heart had been fluttering for quite a while now. Her eyes welled up involuntarily. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Oh my, I shouldn't be crying over such a trivial thing. Lariette hurriedly lowered her head, fumbling through the pockets of her skirt. That's strange. Where is my handkerchief? Steady footsteps were drawing closer, bit by bit. Perhaps Lariette suddenly stopped her movements. Her entire body froze. Do you need a handkerchief? Dietrich slowly reached out, holding a pristine white square cloth, and offering it to Lariette. Oh, Lariette snapped her head up. Her pupils contracted sharply from the sheer shock. This person is, in the novel titled Lovely Seraphina, descriptions of the characters' appearances were always brief and plain. Only the female lead, Sierra, was described with the most detailed prose. However, there was another woman's description that even surpassed the leads in length. That was Evangeline. Aside from them, there was one other character whose appearance was always accompanied by long-winded words of praise. That was the story's male lead, Dietrich. Just a glimpse of his back was enough to take one's breath away. That beauty required no introduction for one to instantly recognize his identity. Miss Lariette suddenly snapped out of it, covering her mouth. She had unknowingly become entranced just by looking at him. Ah, yes. She reached out both hands to take the handkerchief. Thank you. Dietrich lowered his head slightly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stare at you. I was just worried something bad had happened at the estate. Oh no. The lady said such warm things to me. It truly moved me. I even found myself unable to hold back my tears. Dietrich raised an eyebrow. Moved by Evangeline? Laurie stood there, dazed. This reaction was completely unexpected. Could it be because he doesn't know that Evangeline is actually a very gentle person in private? Oh, right. He is disappointed in Evangeline because of all those rumors involving Sierra. No wonder he reacted that way. The misunderstandings between the siblings kept building up, eventually leading to that tragic end. This won't do. I should at least clear the lady's name. She took a step forward. The lady said she wanted to do what I enjoy together with me. She even recommended a salon that would suit me. She even poured tea for me herself, listening to me earnestly and empathizing with me. Dietrich looked at the girl who was so eager to defend his sister. He couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. My apologies. I just find the idea of my sister doing such things quite adorable. It seems Evangeline truly has taken a liking to you. Miss Unsi. Laurie stayed frozen on the spot. Something I would never usually do. Does Dietrich really not have that kind of trust in his own sister? He said just now that it was because of her personality. My cheeks instantly felt burning hot. It felt as if steam were about to puff out from the top of my head. Overreacting like that during our first meeting. It's truly embarrassing. Lariette lowered her head in awkwardness. I see. Dietrich gazed at the flustered young lady before him, a polite curve forming at the corners of his mouth. It is indeed a breach of etiquette for a man to intrude upon a lady's gathering. I have behaved quite rudely. In that case, I shall take my leave. He bowed slightly, performing an impeccable gentlemanly salute. Well then, miss, I look forward to greeting you formally next time. Lariette stood there in a daze, watching Dietrich's retreating figure. Oh my God. Not only is he handsome, but his manners are absolutely perfect. Just by looking at Dietrich's face, I feel like my whole being is healed. Lariette tilted her head, letting out a confused hum. Wait, that's right. I haven't returned his handkerchief yet. Evangeline held up a heavy flower basket. and handed it to Lar. These are roses grown at my estate. The quality is quite good. Take them. Lariette took the basket somewhat awkwardly. I haven't prepared a gift in return yet. Thank you. I feel so lucky to receive such a beautiful flower basket. Evangeline folded her arms over her chest. There's nothing special about the arrangement. The variety is what matters. These will look good in your room. Lariette clutched the flower basket and gave a firm nod. Yes, I'll move them to a vase and change the water every day. Evangeline turned around. What a fuss over nothing. More importantly, Miss Ansi, I will come to your mansion to pick you up tomorrow morning at 10. Please be sure to wait for me. Lariette's pupils dilated in surprise. So suddenly? I highly recommend those salons I mentioned earlier. And since we're on the subject, let's go shopping. Even my grandmother wouldn't wear clothes of that style. Let's go buy something fashionable. Lariette looked a bit dejected. Are my clothes really that bad? Aren't friends supposed to go shopping and eat good food together? Go buy some decent clothes first. And don't look so down. Lariette's heart skipped a beat. An excited flush crept onto her cheeks. Heavens, is she asking me out? She nodded vigorously, a spark returning to her eyes. All right, I'm not sad at all. Just thinking about spending time with you, Miss Evangeline. I'm already starting to look forward to it. Let's do as we planned tomorrow. Just the two of us. Lariette sat in the carriage, waving her arm energetically. Have sweet dreams then, Lady Claudius. The carriage axles made a rhythmic sound as it gradually drove away. Lariette stuck her head out and shouted goodbye loudly. Evangeline stood alone in place, watching the carriage disappear at the end of her sight. She withdrew her, but the corners of her mouth curled up involuntarily. She let out a soft chuckle. Miss Ansi is truly an interesting person. The chandeliers of the banquet hall cast a soft glow. The table was laden with exquisite delicacies. Evangeline sat at one end of the long table, with Dietrich sitting opposite her. In the quiet atmosphere, the two began their dinner. Dietrich swirled the red wine in his glass. Evangeline, how is that friend you made today? Evangeline set down her cutlery. She isn't a friend, just a temporary partner. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Dietrich let out a soft laugh. A friend is a friend. What is all this about temporary partners? I could hear your laughter all the way from my room. It seems you were truly enjoying yourself. Evangeline awkwardly avoids his gaze. It was only because the story was so interesting. I wasn't laughing that loudly. Dietrich puts down his wine glass. To think someone could make the great Evangeline laugh like that. Was it that lady who sent the letter earlier? Evangeline nods gently. Yes, the lady from House Unsea. Dietrich rests his chin on his hand. Miss Lariette? I heard she was quite close with Lopez. And you have always detested Lopez. Evangeline raises her wine glass and takes a sip. It is Lopez I hate, not every single person associated with her. Miss Ansi is a very proper lady. Dietrich flashes a playful smile. Such high praise. It seems you really have taken a liking to Miss Lariette. You two must be quite close already then. Evangeline's cheeks flushed bright red instantly. What nonsense are you talking? I am a Claudius. How could I possibly make friends with someone so easily? Dietrich narrows his eyes, a teasing smile playing on his lips. If you say so, then let's leave it at that. Even though you've been smiling all day long. Evangeline furrows her brows, her expression turning sullen. How annoying. Could you stop looking at me with that face? He gently taps the rim of his glass with his fingertip, his tone becoming more serious. More importantly, brother, could you stop cutting my allowance? I told you I'm going out with Miss Lariette tomorrow. Even if I am the only princess of the empire, I can't exactly let Miss Lariette foot the bill. Dietrich sets his glass down. So you're pleading with me not to reduce your spending. Evangeline looks away awkwardly. I suppose so, that's essentially what I mean. Dietrich rests his chin on his crossed hands. Well, that depends on how well you behave. Evangeline lets out a disdainful snort. How stingy. Fine, I have enough on hand for tomorrow. Anyway, Dietrich's voice is calm, yet it carries a note of warning. Evan, I never said I would cut you off entirely. I'll simply be keeping a close eye on you. Evangeline walks out of the dining room without looking back. I don't want to talk to such a strict brother anymore. Dietrich turns his head, teasing her in a light-hearted tone. I love you too. Evangeline. Evangeline stomps her feet in frustration. So annoying, just eat your dinner. Dietrich sits alone at the dining table. To think Evangeline would choose to set aside that stubborn pride of hers just to make a request. It's enough to move a lady to tears. It seems Evan truly is fond of her. Miss Ansi, was it?
He picks up his wine glass again.
The red liquid swirling within. It seems I should make an effort to remember that name. Morning sunlight spills over the Ansi estate. Carriage wheels roll over the cobblestone road, stopping before the grand mansion doors. Lariette's expression shows a hint of hesitation. Lady Claudius. It's only 9 o'clock. You've arrived much earlier than we agreed. Evangeline folds her hands in front of her, her manner haughty yet natural. I was ready early, so I simply came straight over. Lariette leans in, asking softly with a look of concern. But coming here this early, you must be quite tired. Lady Claudius. Evangeline's cheeks turn bright red instantly. Who said I'm tired? That's not it at all. Evangeline straightens her back suddenly. Don't jump to conclusions. As if I would stay up all night, just because I was going out with you. Lariette rests a hand over her heart. Oh my, could it be because you were too excited? That's why you couldn't sleep a wink. She covered her mouth, struggling to suppress her inner agitation. Yes. Let's head out with high expectations. Evangeline walked briskly toward the carriage. I'm not excited. Don't you believe me? Of course I believe you. I really didn't stay up late. I'm serious. Lariette nodded with a smile. Since you say so, it must be true. The carriage rattled along the forest path. Miss Ansi, you don't believe a word I'm saying, do you? How could that be? I've already decided to believe everything you say. The carriage stopped in front of the boutique. Evangeline pushed open the heavy doors. Her fingertips brushed against rows of magnificent gowns. I want to see every style you have in the shop. Madame Christensen. The shop owner bowed respectfully. I will prepare them for you immediately.
Lady Claudius.
Lariette stood among the racks of dazzling clothes, looking a bit dazed. To want every single piece on display as soon as we enter, she probably wants to look through everything first. Evangeline picked up a long pink dress and held it up against herself. These are all quite beautiful. Aren't they? Lariette snapped back to reality. Yes, I'm certain that every piece you choose will look wonderful on you. Lady Claudius. Evangeline's movements came to a sudden halt. Miss Evangeline's expression grew grim, a chilling aura radiating from her. Have you forgotten? We came here today to buy clothes for you. Lariette was cowed by the sheer pressure she exerted. She was truly like a fierce, angry tiger. She nervously fidgeted with her hands. But Lady Claudius, I don't need this many clothes. Evangeline suddenly gripped her shoulders. This isn't just for you. It's also for the days I'm going to spend with you from now on. Evangeline looked away, a faint, barely noticeable blush rising to her cheeks. Anyway, no more excuses. Go try on the outfits the owner gave you. Without leaving room for argument, she pushed Lariette toward the dressing room. Her movements were forceful but carried a hint of eagerness. Hurry up and go in. A short while later, Evangeline sat alone on the sofa, flipping through a fashion lookbook. Lady Claudius, I have already prepared several very suitable styles for Miss Ansi. Please, take a look. Lariette stepped out in a pure white gown. Her hair was neatly styled up, with elegant pearls adorning her ears, highlighting a refined and high-class aura. Next, she changed into a yellow floral maxi dress, with a light brown ribbon tied at the waist. It was as if she had draped herself in the vitality of spring, appearing lively and vibrant. Finally, she wore a cherry blossom pink off-the-shoulder gown, paired with matching diamond earrings. It perfectly complemented her bright eyes, exuding the delicate softness of a young girl. A satisfied smile appeared on Evangeline's face. As I thought, you look much better with a bit of dressing up. She turned to the owner, her tone absolute. Send all of these along with the ones I selected earlier, to my estate at once. Lariette's eyes widened in surprise. Besides these, there are even more. Evangeline walked over to the mirror and gently turned Lariette by the shoulders. Miss Unsi, look at yourself in the mirror. Do you understand now? Even without a drop of makeup, you possess a beauty that is truly breathtaking. Lariette gazed at her reflection, her fingertips lightly touching her cheek. So, I really can look this presentable. But these clothes look extremely expensive. Can my dignity maintenance fee really afford all of this? She walked over to the shopkeeper awkwardly. Her fingers nervously toyed with the hem of her skirt. Madam? Lariette took a deep breath. I'm very sorry. But would it be possible to pay in installments? Or could I return a few of these pieces? Evangeline's expression turned unusually fierce. Miss Unsi, she looked like an enraged beast. Do you really think I would let you pay for the clothes I personally selected? Lariette shrunk her shoulders in fear. She stammered out an incoherent defense. But Evangeline let out a cold snort. I was the one who insisted on dressing you up. That way, well, look respectable standing next to each other. So there is no need to act so subservient. Madam, send today's bill directly to the ducal residence. The shopkeeper bowed respectfully. As you wish, Lady Claudius. Evangeline pushed open the boutique doors. Now that I've dressed you up exactly how I like, shall we move on to the next step? Lariette stopped in her tracks. There was a trace of confusion in her eyes. The so-called next step is to have lunch at a fantastic restaurant. To secure a reservation there, I went through quite a lot of trouble. She set off with a light, brisk pace, walking straight ahead. Follow me, Miss Unsi. Lariette gazed at that proud and magnificent figure from behind. Her heart stirred with a strange emotion. Oh heavens, what should I do? She lifted the hem of her long pink dress and hurried to catch up. Her shoes made a crisp clicking sound against the stone path. I think I'm about to fall in love with Lady Claudius. Lariette jogged to keep up with the figure ahead. Please, wait for me. Lady Claudius. The restaurant was packed with guests. Elegantly dressed patrons were conversing in low voices. The air was thick with a sophisticated and relaxed afternoon atmosphere. This is my first time at a restaurant with this kind of ambiance. The food here is excellent. It should be to your liking. Evangeline halted. Go ahead and take a seat at that table by the window. I'm going to freshen up my makeup. I'll be right back. Order whatever you'd like. Lariette watched her leave obediently. All right, take your time, Lady Claudius. She pulled back the heavy, cushioned chair herself and settled into her seat by the window. Sunlight filtered through the large floor-to-ceiling windows, spilling across the table. Lariette looked up, watching the guests in the restaurant as they laughed and talked. Everyone here looks so happy, enjoying gourmet food with compatible companions and sharing laughter in their ordinary daily lives. She gripped the menu in her hands. Now I can finally enjoy all of this too. This is my first meal with Lady Claudius. I have to choose very carefully. Lariette flipped through the menu, her fingertips gliding lightly across the pages. I wonder what she would like. Lariette, a familiar voice called out from behind her. Lariette froze instantly. Is it really you? Lariette? Serafina stood nearby, clutching an elegant handbag. Just when I thought a happy moment had finally arrived, trouble always comes uninvited. The sighted character's noose is truly stubborn. She turned her head stiffly. Of all places, it had to be here. Laurie, I saw your back just now and wondered if it was you. I haven't seen this outfit before. Is it new? Yes, my old clothes were looking far too shabby. Serafina stared at the pink handbag, her gaze gradually turning cold. That bag doesn't look cheap either. What on earth is going on? She suddenly leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a low whisper. Weren't those other clothes the ones I personally picked out for you? Lariette's expression remained somewhat distant. I'm sorry, but even my grandmother thought those old clothes were outdated. So I decided to buy some new ones. And I cleaned out my entire wardrobe while I was at it. This should be fine, right? Sira froze in place. She used to wear nothing but the rags I threw away. Why has she suddenly become so dazzling? Does she really have some dark secret? Her eyes snapped wide. Wait, if I look closely, that bag and dress, are they all Madame Christensen's creations? Sira gritted her teeth. Jealousy surged wildly in her chest. Those luxury items I wouldn't even dare dream of. How on earth did Lariette get her hands on them? Gregory, hold this bag for me. Gregory started walking. He stopped in front of Lariette. A suspicious blush crept onto his cheeks. Lariette, could it be that you dressed like this just to get my attention? Sira froze where she stood. She watched the scene in disbelief. What is this guy talking about? Lariette's eyes went wide. Her lips parted slightly. She was overcome by a massive sense of absurdity. What the heck? Is he actually blushing? Gregory turned away, trying to hide his bashful expression. You ignored me on purpose for days. And now you're specifically waiting here. Do you want to make up with me? Since you're trying so hard, I suppose we can reluctantly join you. Lariette turned away in disgust. I dress up just a little, and his attitude completely changes. Truly, transparently shallow. Gregory, I already have plans. Don't flatter yourself. Get lost. Gregory stopped in his tracks. What? But I'm your fiancé. What nonsense are you talking about? I sent the breakup letter a long time ago. Why are you still clinging to the title of fiancé? Her tone was icy, without a hint of warmth. Unless you're here to accept the breakup, I have nothing to say to you. Please leave. He roughly grabbed Lariette's wrist. Nothing to say? What makes you think you can decide when the conversation is over? Stop joking around with those letters. Lariette. Lariette struggled desperately. What are you doing? Let go. Gregory didn't just refuse to let go. He tightened his grip instead. I burned those letters a long time ago. So let's talk this over properly. Lariette. Let go of me. At worst, I'll just send another document. Do you really want to do something you'll regret? Gregory applied more pressure. His voice was full of threats. Besides me, who else would be willing to marry a woman like you? Lariette flinched. Her breathing grew shallow and rapid. The air around her seemed to freeze. Everyone's eyes pricked at her like needles. Whispers spread through the restaurant. People leaned in to whisper to one another, pointing and gossiping at the scene. She had become a laughingstock in their eyes. I just wanted to have a moment like that, like a normal person, sitting with a friend, laughing and talking. But in the end, I still ruined this day. Everything is a mess after all. Lariette, are you even listening to me? Withdraw that damn decision to break up right now. Enough. A cold, sharp voice cut through the commotion. Steady footsteps approached from a distance. Evangeline stood with her arms crossed. Her gaze was directed forward like a sharp blade. I would be most grateful if you would stay away from my friend. Viscount Gusto. Gregory froze instantly. A constrained grunt escaped his throat. Miss Claudius. Sira held her breath. Evangeline's expression was cold. She continued to step forward. I heard that Miss Ancy has already sent her breakup letter. In that case, you two no longer have any engagement between you. Right, pestering someone who has clearly rejected you. Is it because you have too much time on your hands? Or is your cheap lingering attachment acting up? Gregory froze in place. Yes. Then vanished from Miss Ancy's sight. Evangeline slightly tilted her head, her gaze bone-chillingly cold. Stop loitering here like a pathetic loser. Gregory turned pale, cold sweat sliding down his temples. Faced with the overwhelming pressure of the Claudius family, he had lost even the courage to argue back. If you understand, move aside. Evangeline walked straight toward the dining table. I just want to have a meal in peace. Let's go, Gregory, Serafina urged in a low voice, casting a complicated look at Lauriette. Evangeline turned her face and looked at Lauriette beside her. I will soon be hosting a salon. Will you come? A salon hosted by the ducal house of Claudius. This is simply a dream opportunity. It is the most prestigious salon in the empire. Every year, it sponsors emerging artists and writers. This heavy responsibility has always been the Duchess's duty. But since the current duke is not yet married, Evangeline hosts it in his stead. I remember Serafina has always dreamed of attending this gathering. Miss Lopez and Viscount Gregory. Haven't you left yet? Evangeline sat poised at the table, her tone flat but exuding authority. Is there something you wish to say to me? No, we're leaving right now. Serafina and Gregory actually backed down without a fight. What a rare spectacle. A faint smile appeared on Lauriette's lips. Evangeline gently set down her teacup. From now on, this kind of scene will become quite common. Thank you, Lady Claudius. Did you intentionally invite me in front of Serafina, so she would hear it? Evangeline flipped through the register in her hand. I intended to invite you anyway. I just chose the most opportune moment. Lauriette lowered her gaze. And I'm sorry. I've wasted your time and dragged you into such an embarrassing situation. Evangeline closed the register with a soft snap. What are you talking about? That wasn't an embarrassing situation. It was an opportunity. She rested her cheek on one hand, a playful smile curving her lips. I just wanted to make those pests realize their place quickly. The result was perfect. It was actually quite entertaining. Oh, I see. Lauriette looked up, a light of relief in her eyes. As long as I am with this lady, my happiness feels like it could spread infinitely at any moment. As expected of my lady. You really are the best. Miss Ansi, what is your favorite food? Whatever you like, it'll have the same. Evangeline slightly tilted her head. Do you think you can mimic my tastes just because someone has your back? So, do you like apples? Yes, I love them very much. Serafina, what should I do? Gregory hurried to catch up on the street, asking in a low, panicked voice. It seems Lauriette truly intends to break up with me. Without this marriage, my title, Gregory. Serafina stopped in her tracks. Could you please shut up for a single second? Let me think. She slowly turned her head, her gaze cold and sharp. Sorry. Gregory was silenced by her intensity, instinctively shrinking back. That Lauriette, who was always so quiet and withdrawn, is actually getting so close to that lady. Serafina gritted her teeth. Fingertips pressed against her lips. What on earth is going on? Could her unusual behavior these past few days be entirely because she has that woman's support? This cannot go on. I must find an opportunity to speak with Lauriette again. That Lauriette NC. The letter slowly unfolds between her fingertips. Miss Ansi, did you sleep well last night? Did you put on the outfit I sent you? Just as you said? I trust you have already thrown away that trash. Those clothes Lopez gave you. She had no good intentions from the very start. You should be well aware of that, shouldn't you? Since we signed a friendship contract, we should fulfill it properly. When are you coming to the estate to see me? It's not because I want to see you. It's simply to fulfill the contract. Do you understand? How cute she isn't honest with her feelings at all. Lauriette looks down at the letter, letting out a soft chuckle. When you come to the estate, remember to wear that sky blue dress I gave you. That dress suits Miss Ansi very well. The sun is very strong during the day, so make sure to use the parasol we picked out together. Also, tidy up that hair of yours that drags around like a ghost's. I don't want to be friends with a ghost. Write back and let me know when you will be coming to see me. Or you can just come over without replying. I will be waiting for you. Your contractual friend, Evangeline. I really love this feeling. Lariat closes her eyes, an irrepressible smile on her lips. Someone who watches over me like this, who thinks of me, and who waits for me. She holds the letter tightly to her chest, rolling around giddily on the bed. But then she stops abruptly. Isn't she busy preparing for the salon? That's why I hadn't contacted her. Perhaps even though she is incredibly busy, she still reached out to me. If she needs help, I'd be more than happy to assist. Since she wants to see me so badly, Lariat pinches the envelope with her finger and tucks it away safely. And let's start getting ready with a happy heart. Everything is ready. Miss, Amy steps forward and holds out the parasol. Thank you, Amy. While you were getting ready, Miss Lopez arrived for a visit. Amy folds her hands in front of her. What shall we do? Her again, Lariat stops in her tracks, a hint of impatience in her eyes. Didn't I tell you to just send her away? But she brought a companion, so I've asked them to wait in the drawing room for now. Who is the companion? It is Baroness Bentner. Lariat's eyes widen. What, Gregory's aunt? The aroma of this tea is far too weak. Even the tea served to guests is so perfunctory. No wonder Gregory can't stand it. Here, Auntie, shall we have afternoon tea by ourselves later? Serafina turns her head, a submissive smile on her lips. Let's do that. The Baroness nods slightly, her expression softening a bit. More importantly, thank you for being willing to come here with me. Auntie, Serafina lowers her eyes, her tone sounding aggrieved. Just what has she done right to give her the right to put on airs with you? The Baroness snaps her folding fan in anger. She has always been so uncultured. An elder must say something. And besides, how dare she send my nephew a notice to dissolve the engagement? Do you think I can just stand by and watch? She actually brought that tyrannical woman into my home. Lariat hid behind the door, her breathing becoming slightly hurried. Serafina, you really are tormenting me from every possible angle. Baroness Bentner. She was the person who turned my married life into a living hell. She always compared Serafina, and back then I could only bow my head in submission to her. She clearly knows how much I fear that woman, yet she brought her here anyway. Because she knows that if she does this, I will definitely show my face. Does she want to see me that badly? Lariat took a deep breath to calm her inner turmoil. Her fingertips gripped the doorknob tightly. With a click, she pushed open the doors to the drawing room. Serafina. Lariat pushed the door open, her tone cold and steady. Ah, Lari. Serafina stood up abruptly, a delighted smile blooming on her face. Good morning, Auntie said. She missed you so much, so I brought her along. What exactly are you thinking? I told you not to come back. And bringing a guest without any notice is incredibly troublesome for me. Don't you understand that? Serafina froze, her expression turning fearful and aggrieved. Laurie, I just don't blame Serafina. I was the one who told her to bring me. The Baroness stood up suddenly, shielding Serafina. I heard you not only sent Gregory a letter to break off the engagement, but you also humiliated him in public. Arguing with your fiancé in broad daylight. Have you no sense of shame at all? As a lady, you are utterly hopeless. A woman should be gentle and sweet, just like Serafina. The Baroness tilted her chin up, her voice dripping with contempt. Since that's the case, then, why don't you have Gregory and Serafina get engaged instead? I've said it countless times already. I want to break up with Gregory. Lariat took a step forward, meeting her gaze directly. Since you adore Serafina so much, wouldn't it be a better choice to make her your daughter-in-law? You! How dare you speak to me that way? The Baroness's eyes widened, her chest heaving with rage. Not only are you ungrateful for my guidance, but you have become incredibly arrogant and rude. Laurie, how can you talk to Auntie like that? Serafina rushed forward, her voice trembling with a hint of tears. Hurry and apologize to Auntie. Why do you keep slandering Gregory and me? Your attitude is making me so flustered. Gregory is more loyal to you than he is to me. Lariat turned her head, her eyes flashing with a bone-chilling coldness. You witnessed it all yourself, and yet you claim to be flustered? That's only because we're childhood friends. Serafina argued desperately. I was your childhood friend too. Lariette interrupted, her tone flat and without a single ripple of emotion. A true friend doesn't treat the other person as a tool. True friendship is built upon respect and care. A relationship where you ask about the other person's preferences. That is what real friends do. Since Lady Claudius values me so much, I will become someone worthy of that respect. So I will never be intimidated by these scenes again. You've never once asked me about any of this. Lariette tilted her head slightly, her voice chilling to the bone. And I have no intention of remaining your friend. Now leave. Serafina froze in place, her pupils trembling with shock. Serafina's body swayed, her hand clutching her forehead, as she collapsed weakly backward. Serafina, are you okay? The Baroness cried out and rushed to her side, catching the trembling girl. You insolent girl! The Baroness snapped her head up, glaring at Laurie in a rage. Sira is the one who saved your life. How can you be so ungrateful? Please, calm down. Auntie. Sira weakly grabbed the Baroness's arm. Laurie is just speaking in anger. She doesn't mean it. Laurie, I'm sorry for making you feel that way. Sira looked up. Tears welled in her eyes. I have truly already done my absolute best for you. If getting close to Lady Claudius makes you prejudiced against me, I will work even harder to make it up to you. But Laurie, do you really trust Lady Claudius? Sira leaned close to her ear. Her expression turned dark and sinister. Her voice dropped to a low whisper. What is the meaning of this? Laurie's eyes snapped wide. Her pupils constricted in alarm. I'm saying this for your own good. Lady Claudius's temperament is notoriously awful. Sira leaned against her shoulder. A faint, imperceptible smirk played on her lips. That's why she is always alone. She's an outcast, even at high society gatherings. Rumor has it she doesn't even view lower-ranking nobles as human. What if she chose you, simply because she needed someone to mock at the salon? There are countless rumors about her, discarding people once she's done with them. If you end up isolated and helpless at the salon, it would break my heart. Do you really think I would harm you? I see. So that was your goal. The corner of Laurie's mouth quirked up. A cold smile spread across her face. So this has been your objective all along? All to get your hands on an invitation to the salon. Thank you for being so concerned about me. Laurie pulled her fingers away from Sira. A distant smile remained on her lips. Laurie, Sira called out softly, looking somewhat flustered. But I was only invited to attend. I don't have the authority to bring guests. If you could just say a few kind words to the lady on my behalf. Sira hurried to keep up. Her tone was laced with urgency. But Sira, according to you, I'm nothing more than a laughingstock. A lady like her would never lend a hand to someone like me. Laurie scoffed and continued walking forward. It'll be lucky if I just manage not to offend her. Laurie turned her head. Her eyes were full of mockery. Don't you agree? Besides, compared to me, I'm sure the Baroness is more capable of securing an invitation. The Baroness stood frozen in place. Her expression was one of pure shock. Although an invitation might not be sent to a barony, since the Baroness dotes on you so much. Laurie looked back slightly at Sira, a playful smirk on her face. I'm sure she'll find a way. That arrogant little brat. The Baroness clenched her fists, her chest heaving with rage. Auntie, please calm down. Getting angry is bad for your health. Sira stepped forward quickly, supporting the trembling Baroness. Oh, and Serafina, if you're truly that worried about me, then by all means, get an invitation, and come see for yourself at the salon. Surely you'd go that far for my sake. Right, Sira stood frozen in place. Of course, Laurie, I'll do my absolute best. Sira clenched her fists tight. Her face looked twisted and dark in the shadows. In that case, I wish you a safe journey back to the city. Very well, Serafina. You must do your best to survive, just as I once did. I will personally shatter that hypocritical mask of yours. The carriage axles let out a low rumble as it slowly pulled away from the manor. Morning sunlight spilled over the magnificent architecture, and the sound of birdsong echoed through the forest. Everything seemed as peaceful as usual. Lariette lifted her intricate skirts, stepped onto the soft lawn, and walked toward the towering spire. Lariette, NC, offering greetings to Lady Claudius. You actually came in person, instead of just sending a reply. Evangeline sat at the tea table, pointing to the seat across from her. Take a seat, yes. My lady, Lariette sat down obedient. Your attire is adequate, but your greeting was too stiff. -3 points. Evangeline scrutinized the girl before her. Why such a formal greeting? Lariette tilted her head, looking a bit confused. Aren't we friends now? Friends don't need to be so formal. Evangeline looked away, coughing softly to hide her embarrassment. In that case, next time I'll greet you in a more friendly manner. A look of anticipation sparkled in Lariette's eyes. And get rid of that heavy look in your eyes. As you wish anyway. If you like lemon cake, and have some more. Evangeline pointed to the dessert on the table. If it's not to your taste, I'll have them bring something else immediately. Thank you for your kindness. I really do like it. Lariette used her fork to cut a piece of cake and brought it to her lips. The sweet taste spread over her tongue, and all her stress seemed to vanish instantly. But then Lariette stopped. She looked at Evangeline across from her. She seemed too relaxed, not at all like someone in the middle of salon preparations. My lady, is there anything I can help with? Lariette put down her fork, her expression full of concern. Help with what? Evangeline held her teacup, her movements pausing for a second. I know the salon is only 2 weeks away. Since you're the host, I wanted to help take some of the load off your shoulders. Evangeline lowered her gaze, falling into a brief silence. Never mind, my brother. We'll take care of everything anyway. It makes me feel quite bad, actually. As if Hayes overworking himself every time, just so I can sit back and relax. Hayes already so busy, and I feel like I'm just adding to his burden. She's worried about the Duke. Lariette watched, feeling a stir of emotion in her heart. It was true. Dietrich is one of the busiest men in the empire. He carries the weight of a vast territory and its people, handling endless mundane affairs, while managing massive industries. He maneuvers between the nobility and the royal family, like the only king on a chessboard.
He must stay sharp at all times.
The image of Dietrich appeared in Lariette's mind. He always has that polite smile, even while buried under a mountain of documents. How on earth does he finish such a frantic schedule with a smile? Lariette rested her chin on her hand, lost in thought. Just like it was written in the novel, he must be handling those suffocatingly heavy tasks right now. Since it's weighing on you so much, why not take this chance to check the documents yourself? Me, Evangeline looked up, a look of hesitation in her eyes. I'll help you. I understand the Duke wants to protect his sister, but as the direct heir, you must learn to handle the paperwork. Only by mastering how the duchy operates can you gain confidence and secure your position. Most importantly, I can't let him lose to Serafina like in the original story. In the latter half of the novel, when the conflict between Serafina and the lady reached its peak, a serious case of fraud occurred. A merchant guild dealing in high-end spices had been defrauding the nobility by falsifying prices. Serafina keenly perceived the truth and reported it. This brought her great fame, and her status rose instantly. Compared to Serafina's achievements, Evangeline was labeled as incompetent. Such an evaluation was extremely unfair to her. Those expensive spices had merely appeared on the list of gifts she had received. She hadn't even noticed anything suspicious. However, Serafina spread subtle rumors among the people, inciting public sentiment. You say they were gifts, but what if you bought them yourself and are just using that as an excuse? The future of the ducal house looked very bleak. Evangeline's expression seemed somewhat dejected. My brother has always been the one handling these matters. Do you really think I can do this? It was time to rewrite this script of incompetence. Of course you can. Lariette smiled slightly. Reviewing documents will certainly feel unfamiliar at first, but you'll get used to it quickly. Besides, it'll be by your side the entire time. Evangeline turned her head, a trace of hesitation in her eyes. In the original novel, this lady was branded with the infamy of being vain and incompetent. Those heavy shackles should have crushed her completely. Lariette stood up, her skirt swaying gently in the breeze. Lady Claudius, please trust me. Lariette looked straight into her eyes. I will personally shatter those labels and put an end to all that infamy. 2 thick stacks of documents lay on the table. A quill stood quietly in the inkwell, waiting to meet its fate. Evangeline picked up the manuscript with both hands, her brow furrowed as she let out a heavy sigh. These dense, crowded words made her feel a wave of dizziness. Evangeline let out a groan and slumped onto the tabletop. Are you not used to reviewing documents? Indeed, I am not. Then let's start with this one. Shall we check it together? Lariette reached out, deftly pulling out a sheet of paper with her fingertips and holding it before her. I don't think we need this many floral decorations. Lariette pointed to the details in the draft, her expression focused and serious. Why, Evangeline looked up, her eyes full of confusion. Because excessive decoration can be a distraction. If you place a giant vase right next to a piece of art, the audience's attention will be divided. Instead of helping, it ruins the charm of the work itself. That actually makes a lot of sense. Evangeline responded thoughtfully. In that case, we might as well remove them and focus more on the lighting. Lariette held the quill, lightly marking the paper. Lighting, Evangeline tilted her head, looking somewhat blank. To make the art shine more brilliantly, Lariette explained patiently. I think it would be better to consult with technicians and install additional lighting. So, do we need to increase the budget for lighting? Evangeline leaned forward. Instead of increasing the budget, we can reallocate the funds originally meant for the flowers. Lariette shook her head. This way, the budget won't change much. I see. Evangeline showed a look of sudden realization. Also, if you look at this document, Lariette held up another manuscript. Such an admirable gaze. Lariette covered her mouth and giggled, her heart filled with praise. To call such a woman incompetent, the original author was clearly sprouting nonsense. A nameless anger flared up in Lariette's heart. Miss Lariette. Evangeline gasps behind her. It is nothing, my lady. Lariette quickly steps forward. She takes both of her hands in hers. I can help you review documents whenever you need, so please be sure to call on me at any time. Really, Evangeline stands up abruptly. Not just today, but from now on as well. She squeezes Lariette's hands back tightly. The warmth from her palms makes a faint blush rise to her cheeks. Evangeline lowers her head slightly, looking flustered. Well then, for now, let's finish going through this document together. She is still being shy. How adorable. Lariette gazes at the other girl's profile, the corners of her mouth curling up naturally. All right, let's do exactly as you say. The two sit facing each other. Thick stacks of paperwork are piled on the table. The scratching sound of pen nibs on paper echoes within the silent room. These are the documents that can be viewed by, including the various inventory lists, and this guest list here. Lariette's finger stops on the list. Her eyes scan the long string of names. A slight smile plays on Lariette's lips. Just as I expected. At least for the duration of the salon gathering, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Serafina Lopez, and those from the Bentner family. None of them are on the guest list. Night falls over the magnificent castle. The spires reach up into the starry sky. Lights flicker through the window frames. Dietrich steps into the hall. He loosens his tie with his fingertips, letting out a weary sigh.
He raises his hand,
running his fingers through his hair. He looks quite exhausted. Are you back, Your Grace? An attendant steps forward respectfully to greet him. We have prepared your bedroom. Please go and rest. No, I still have a few things to take care of. Dietrich waves his hand dismissively. Please bring me a cup of coffee. And send the salon-related paperwork to my study. Regarding those documents, Lady Claudius took them back to her room to review. Dietrich stops dead in his tracks. Evan did? He turns his head, a look of disbelief in his eyes. Dietrich pushes open the study doors. He flips through the manuscripts, his eyes scanning the lines of text rapidly. His expression gradually turns serious. They are organized perfectly. Even the supplementary advice is incredibly thorough. This content is definitely not something Evangeline, who has no practical experience, could have written. What exactly happened here? Did Evan review these documents alone? No, it was the visiting Miss N.C. The attendant who had accompanied the lady bows his head and reports truthfully. Miss N.C.? A hint of surprise flashes in Dietrich's. Yes, Your Grace. Dietrich lets out a soft sigh. He carries Evangeline toward the bed. He gently places her among the soft covers. To think you'd actually seek out work. Evangeline. Dietrich gazes at her sleeping face, his fingers lightly brushing through her brilliant gold hair. I have always tried my best to protect you, to keep you away from these tedious and tiring tasks. And yet, here you are, sharing my burden. It is truly admirable. Dietrich straightens his back, a gentle curve forming on his lips. More than that, these documents are so well organized that there is almost nothing left for me to correct. Dietrich closes the heavy volume. Forget the coffee. As you wish, Your Grace. Thanks to that lady, I can finally get some sleep early tonight. Morning light filters through the high curtains, falling upon the floor of the ornate bedroom. Tiny dust motes floated in the air. Evangeline slowly opened her eyes. I clearly remember reviewing documents at my desk. She rubbed her bleary eyes. She propped herself up and sat up. Right, I fell asleep at my desk. But I woke up in bed. This means she suddenly snapped her eyes open. Dietrich was sitting on the sofa. His fingertips steadily held the teapot, pouring the amber tea into a cup. She should be appearing just about now. The rustle of a skirt brushed against the hallway, making a soft, skittering sound. Dietrich counted the beats in his head. 3, 2, 1 point brother. She threw the large doors open. Good morning, Evan. Dietrich picked up his teacup. The tea is already poured for you. Have you seen my documents? You've already checked them, haven't you? Evangeline hurried over to him. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. Yes, they were excellent. Dietrich responded calmly. Really, Evangeline's face lit up. Of course. Do you know who reviewed them? The result of you and Miss N.C. reviewing them together is indeed impressive. Dietrich set down his teacup. The smile on Evangeline's face froze instantly. She let out an awkward grunt. Yes, I did receive some help from Miss N.C., but I also put in a lot of effort. I can imagine. Dietrich watched her, a hint of teasing in his voice. After all, you worked so hard that you didn't even realize you fell asleep at your desk. Evangeline lowered her head in shame. Even if I went to such lengths, are you still not planning to attend the salon, brother? You're always so busy. Who says, I want to see the salon you're hosting as well. Dietrich rested his chin on one hand. A playful smile tugged at his lips. Don't tell me. You aren't even planning to give your brother an invitation. Are you serious? In the past, you'd only take one look at the preparations and then turn right back to work. She set down her cup. Her tone was filled with skepticism. I plan to clear my schedule this time. Dietrich turned slightly, making the promise with a calm expression. And then you'll just run off to a meeting or deal with something else. Are you lying? It seems my past record is indeed poor, to the point where I can't even earn your trust. Dietrich lowered his gaze, letting out a helpless sigh. After all, during every previous salon, I was always left to hold the fort alone. No one even dared to approach me. I'm sorry, Evangeline. Dietrich apologized in a low voice. What? Who said I wanted an apology? Miss Unsi will be accompanying me this time. Evangeline folded her arms across her chest. Her expression carried a hint of pride. So, brother, I won't be able to attend the salon with you. Dietrich was silent for a moment. That's a real shame. More importantly, did you really like those documents? I truly did favor them. It seems you still don't believe me. After all, this is the first time I've seen you admit so readily to liking something. You're usually so fastidious about these things. Is there really nothing that needs my revisions? Were those documents really that good? Miss Ansi is truly remarkable. Evangeline clasped her hands together, resting them under her chin. Her face was beaming with admiration. I've never met anyone as brilliant as her. Miss Ansi holds a Viscount title. Is it because she's the family heir that she's so skilled at paperwork? I suspect that isn't the real reason. Dietrich narrowed his eyes slightly. His gaze became deep and sharp. I have seen many administrators in my time, but even among them, Miss Ansi's documents stand out as exceptionally remarkable. Anyway, I must get back to work. Evangeline stood up, smoothing out her ornate skirt. I will re-examine the budget proposal and have it to you by the end of today. Make sure to check it. Brother, don't forget to eat breakfast. You too, brother. Evangeline pushed open the door and vanished at the end of the hallway. Perhaps, all this time, I have been stifling her with unnecessary overprotection. He raised his hand, pressing his fingertips against his temples, and let out a faint sigh. She certainly does look more vibrant than before. My lady and I put our hearts and souls into preparing for the salon. Thanks to our thorough preparations, she is now able to handle everything with poise. Although the critical information had already been catalogued, I still couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. Lariette bowed her head slightly, her hands crossed over her chest, silently praying for the plan to succeed. I hope everyone's evaluation of my lady is positive. Please, let nothing go wrong. The venue was buzzing with voices. Great crystal chandeliers bathed the room in light. Lariette looked around. She really was seeing the people from the list. All the empire's prominent figures were gathered in one place. That is the Marchioness of Baldwin. And those are the nobles from the Imperial Council. Is this why Serafina always wanted me to make a deep impression in front of all these famous people? Since everyone is so eager to attend the ducal salon, why would anyone still spread such vicious rumors about my lady? I really can't understand it. Miss Ansi, I've been waiting for you. Evangeline rushed over, hooking her arm through Lariette's. A brilliant smile beamed across her face. It seems everyone has very high praise for the salon. Everyone is saying the food and the exhibition layout are superb. To have this lady link her arm with mine like this, it seems the reception is indeed very favorable. Lariette turned her face slightly, a gentle smile appearing on her lips. I think I've gotten a bit carried away because of this salon. Evangeline let go of her arm, slightly flustered as she adjusted her lace gloves. I'm not usually the type to lose my composure like this. She retracted like a cat. How adorable. Lariette's lips curled up unintentionally. You always carry an air of nobility, my lady. And more importantly, my lady looks even more enchanting today than usual. You're practically a work of art. She rested her cheek on her hand, her eyes full of wonder. Though it might be an exaggeration, the magnificent sculptures and paintings in this hall all pale in comparison to my lady's beauty. So, what do you think of the salon? Evangeline asked with a hint of anticipation. Of course, all the pieces are magnificent. The works, oh, I was just marveling at the parts I wasn't involved in planning.
Now,
I'm finally starting to truly appreciate these masterpieces you've selected. Oh, that's quite all right, Evangeline replied softly. There's no need to be overwhelmed. You can take your time browsing the collection. If you're interested, it'll take you to see the rest of the family's collection later. It would be an honor. My lady, shall we look over there first? Those sculptures look quite majestic. Evangeline! A low magnetic voice rang out, breaking through the noise of the venue. Brother. Evangeline stopped in her tracks and turned back toward the newcomer, a hint of surprise in her eyes. Dietrich walked slowly toward the two of them. So, here you are. Your Grace. Lariette sucked in a breath. I didn't think he was the type to attend salons. This is absolutely perfect. You two should be introduced. Evangeline took Lariette's arm and led her over to Dietrich. Brother, this is my friend, Lariette Annecy. Miss Annecy, this is my brother, Dietrich von Claudius. Lariette stood frozen Seraphina's future marriage partner. To think he would suddenly appear like this. It's okay, don't worry. I just need to return the handkerchief to him, and then we'll never have to see each other again. She took a deep breath and gave Dietrich a deep bow. I am Lariette Annecy. It is an honor to meet you, Duke Claudius. The honor is mine, Miss Annecy. Dietrich had a polite smile on his face. I look forward to our time together. Lariette kept her head down. When on earth would be the right time to return the handkerchief? If I return it through Lady Evangeline, it might seem a bit disrespectful. My Lady Marchioness Baldwin would like to see you for a moment. A servant hurried inside. Brother, I have to go attend to the guest. Evangeline turned around. Please look after Miss Annecy in my stead. Of course, go ahead. Dietrich nodded slightly. Lariette jerked her head up. Her pupils constricted in shock. Wait, how did it end up like this? I specifically decided not to get involved with him anymore. My lady, you'll be back soon, right? What? Evangeline looked back, looking puzzled. Are you talking about the snacks? The snacks are over there. No, I'm asking if you're coming back quickly. Don't worry, I'll be back in no time. Evangeline waved her hand and disappeared into the crowd. She definitely didn't hear what I said. Lariette stood rooted to the spot. Cold sweat trickled down her back. She's gone too far. This is a total disaster. Miss Annecy. Dietrich leaned down slightly, leaning close to her ear. His deep voice sounded right beside her. Lariette whipped her head around. Her pupils constricted sharply from the fright. You look a bit pale. Dietrich lowered his gaze, his tone a bit probing. Are you feeling all right? Lariette's shoulders tensed up. Did he hear what I said to Lady Evangeline? Lariette forced a stiff smile. I'm fine. It's just my first salon, so I'm a bit nervous. She instinctively backed away, trying to put some distance between them. Her toe caught on her voluminous skirt. Lariette lost her balance. She let out a short gasp and started to fall backward. Dietrich's eyes sharpened.
He quickly reached out his arm,
Catching her firmly by the waist, and pulled her into his arms. He frowned slightly, his voice deep and caring. My lady, you look quite ill. Would you like to sit down and rest? I shall go call for a doctor. Pace even closer than before. No, Lariette stumbled back and pulled away. I'm perfectly fine. I'm extremely healthy. Healthier than anyone. I just slipped, that's all. Dietrich withdrew his reaching hand. I am relieved to hear that. I prepared so much to talk to high-ranking nobles. So what on earth was I just blabbering about? Bragging about my physical fitness of all things. Would he think I'm a strange woman? Or even stop me from spending time with his sister? Miss Annecy. Dietrich reached out his hand. Since you have such a robust constitution, I imagine you can tour the entire salon without any strain. Shall we look around together? Lari froze in place. Her gaze fell upon Dietrich's outstretched palm. Up until now, my image should still be considered perfect, right? She took a deep breath and gently placed her hand in his broad palm. Yes, Your Grace. The two stepped into the exhibition hall side by side. Lari glanced around. The lighting here is just right. The ornamentation of the frames isn't overly ostentatious. There are even brochures prepared for every section. Lari rested her chin in her hand. A gratified smile spread across her lips. Even with my suggestions, actually carrying it out was no simple feat. But she really did an exceptional job. concentrating the landscapes in that section, and cleverly arranging the entrance scenery. It truly was a clever move. Dietrich turned his head toward her. Rather than the art, you seem more interested in the salon's arrangement. Laurie retracted her gaze. Her eyes were full of appreciation. That lady cut back on her sleep, just to prepare for this salon. I couldn't help but notice these details. Of course, I am also enjoying these works of exquisite taste. Dietrich stopped in his tracks. Did you sleep well last night? Laurie was momentarily taken. What, are you asking me? I know you helped with the salon preparations. I was worried she might have been a burden to you. Laurie waved her hands hurriedly. A burden, not at all. Nothing of the sort. I only offered a few minor suggestions. The one who truly worked hard and made all the decisions was the lady herself. Dietrich gazed at her silently. A subtle emotion flickered in his eyes. He blinked slowly. Since you trust Evangeline so much, it's no wonder she likes you so much. Laurie's eyes widened. She likes me? And she likes you very much. Dietrich looked off into the distance. Ever since she met you, she has become much more cheerful. She also seems to have gained a strange sort of confidence. This must be because you looked so sincerely into her heart. Evangeline stood in the center of the crowd, conversing confidently with the guests. A radiant smile shone on her face. Dietrich looked back. I am truly happy that Evangeline could make such a good friend. I really am. For a while now, I've wanted to express my gratitude to you. Laurie lowered her head in silence. A good friend? Was I just acknowledged by that lady's family? I'm so happy. I'll surely make a fool of myself if this keeps up. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her erratic breathing. Thank you for the recognition. Your Grace, I must change the subject quickly. She walked quickly toward the center of the hall, pointing at a stone statue ahead. More importantly, this statue is really quite impressive. Have you seen it? Dietrich followed after her, and came to a halt in front of the statue. Ah, this one. It's a work recreating the legend of the nymph. According to legend, the nymph only obeyed the commands of the god she loved. Yet that never granted her even a single shred of pity. He only coldly took advantage of her loyalty. Tormented by her unfulfilled love, the nymph eventually turned into a birch tree. This statue was crafted based on that imperial legend. Laurie looked up at the white stone statue. The story is famous. Even I know a thing or two about it. The sculptor likely intended to emphasize the nymph's sorrow. She gave everything she had, and yet she was still ignored. Because her grief was so profound, she had no choice but to take refuge in that form. Now that you mention it, the nymph's expression does indeed look quite melancholy. Lariette gazed at the statue's face and fell into deep thought. Is that so? I feel like it might not be entirely that way. Dietrich took a step forward. It seems you have a different perspective, Miss Ansi. You've read a different emotion from the nymph's expression. Lariette's fingertip lightly brushed against her lower lip. How should I put this? I was just wondering, the nymph who chose to transform into a tree in the heart of the forest, would she really have felt only sadness? She finally ended the days of being a plaything for the gods. Perhaps that was the first time in her life that she made a choice entirely for herself. I feel that decision actually brought her a sense of freedom and relief. Just like me, deciding to leave the so-called protagonist. She suddenly snapped back to reality. Her cheeks instantly flushed a deep red. Ah, did I give a strange answer? Lariette scratched her hair awkwardly. This was just some random personal musing. I really shouldn't have said that. Dietrich shook his head gently. No, it's a very interesting and fresh perspective. He leaned close to Lariette's ear. He lowered his voice. I'll tell you a secret. Evan burst into tears after hearing this legend. She would surely love your interpretation. Lariette's expression brightened with surprise. Oh my, that's quite adorable. I must tell her that myself. Dietrich raised his index finger and pressed it against his lip. This is a secret if only told you. Lariat nodded vigorously. Of course, I'll keep it a secret. The Duke really is always thinking of his sister. Such a gentle brother. How could he ever lock his own sister in a convent? Lariat's pupils contracted sharply. Wait, if I think about it carefully, this whole matter truly feels strange. In the original storyline, what exactly happened to lead to such an ending? As the original story approached its conclusion, Serafina and that young lady met in the garden by the lake. Facing the lady's fury, Serafina placed a hand over her chest. Her expression was humble and pleading. If you could tell me exactly what kind of mistake I have made, I will apologize to you with all my heart. So please have mercy and forgive me just this once. However, the lady known as the villainess, Lopez, you are truly foolish. Evangeline leaned close to her ear. Her tone was cold and contemptuous. To come looking for me like this. Serafina was shoved backward. She lost her balance and toppled back. This is the mistake you've made. Water splashed everywhere. Serafina fell into the freezing lake. Dietrich witnessed it all. He dove into the water without hesitation and brought her back to the surface. The lady was ultimately banished to a convent. It all felt like a tragic cycle. It's ironic. The protagonist who once saved others from the water now sank to the bottom herself. The readers were all blinded by this facade. She had clearly lured Serafina into the water on purpose. Miss Ansi? I think I should be going now. He was an extremely prominent figure. I mustn't be rude in his presence. She lightly lifted her skirts with both hands and performed a graceful curtsy. It's all right, until we meet again. Yes, until next time. Dietrich watched the young lady before him. A gentle curve touched the corners of his lips. I hope that the next time we meet, we will have the opportunity for a more in-depth conversation. Miss Ansi. Lariat suddenly catches her breath, her pupils trembling slightly in surprise. Well then, I shall take my leave. Dietrich nods slightly and turns away politely. Does he really see me as a friend? She cups her cheek with one hand, a faint blush spreading across her face. That gentle suggestion just now, it nearly made me fall for him completely. No, I absolutely cannot let myself be swayed. Lariat shakes her head vigorously. Get a grip. I can't let myself be lured by such a gentle trap. I must never harbor any unrealistic fantasies about a man who is meant to be a fated lover in the original story. I value my own position far too much for that. She starts walking, her magnificent skirt trailing along the floor, with a soft, rhythmic, rustling sound. Perhaps I cannot fall for someone so dazzling, but at least my life is finally changing. And that is enough. Miss Ansi looks truly radiant today. She certainly does. A noble lady nearby chimes in. The Duke even escorted her personally, and she seemed to be getting along quite well with that lady just now. This is the first time I've ever seen her associating with anyone else. It's quite unexpected. The young lady of a prestigious ducal house, actually befriending a child from a mere viscount's family. She seems surprisingly humble. Humble, Evangeline stops in her tracks. She crosses her arms over her chest, coldly interrupting their private conversation. Between friends, things like titles are utterly trivial. The noble ladies tremble in fear. My lady, we hope everyone is having a pleasant time here. Evangeline looks down at the two of them expressionlessly. They hurriedly bow their heads low. I'm sorry, that was a slip. I promise it won't happen again. Ladies, I only wished to know if you were enjoying this salon. And by the way, I have no particular thoughts regarding what was just said. Oh, of course, I truly love it. The layout is much better than before, and the exhibited works are absolutely fascinating. We can see how much effort has been poured into every corner of the gallery. Listening to their praise, the corners of Evangeline's mouth twitch upward involuntarily, and a faint blush appears on her cheeks. This is all thanks to my friend. Evangeline raises her lace-gloved hand to lightly cover her mouth, a rare hint of gentleness showing in her eyes. Miss Ansi has been by my side the entire time. helping me every step of the way. I will be sure to pass these compliments along to my friend. Please, enjoy the rest of your time here. She walks away with elegant steps, leaving the two standing there dazed, staring blankly at her retreating figure. I thought we were going to get a fierce glare. I didn't expect her to be smiling. She was practically like an angel. I really see the young lady in a new light now. Lariette picks up her glass and takes a small sip of the sharp liquid. Miss Unsi, so this is where you were. Why are you all alone? Where did my brother go? Evangeline looks around the room curiously. He went to speak with some other gentlemen. They likely wanted to make a good impression and perhaps secure some investments. Evangeline frowns with dissatisfaction. He just left you here like this? I think he was actually being considerate of me. Lariette gives a gentle, poised smile. After all, there were so many people who were hoping for even a word with the Duke. Even so, he should have escorted you until the very end. When this event is over, I'm definitely going to have a word with him. There's really no need for that. His escort was already perfect. Lariette laughs helplessly and waves her hand. It's just that I still feel a bit uneasy. Evangeline turned her head slightly, her expression looking somewhat awkward. It is more than enough. A gentle smile played on Lariette's lips. Whether it's you or the Duke, you have both already taken such wonderful care of me. As Evangeline listened to these words, her tense shoulders gradually relaxed, and a smile of relief appeared on her face. Miss Unsi, on my way here, I heard many praises regarding this salon. I've been going around telling everyone that this was all thanks to Miss Unsi's hard work. Now, the way everyone looks at you must be completely different. She even took such a small detail into consideration. Lariette stared ahead, her eyes trembling slightly. I'm truly moved. I almost gave up. To lose an angelic friend like her would have been a complete mistake. Fortunately, before coming to the salon, I had already sent that letter. A letter. Evangeline turned her head. Is it something important? It's not particularly important. Lariette gently swirled the wine glass in her hand, a soft curve forming on her lips. I just took care of some homework that needed to be finished. Night shrouded the estate. A letter lay quietly on the desk. A letter opener pressed down on the edge of the envelope. Serafina, standing with her back to the window, hung her head lower and lower. Hidden by her ornate gown, she tightly gripped the letter in her hand. The paper became distorted in her grasp. Sira, didn't you say you would come see for yourself? To confirm if that lady was bullying me. But you never showed up. It seems your concern for me was only worth this much. Our friendship seems so hollow. Serafina, in truth, I knew all along what you truly wanted when you said those things. You were never truly worried about me, were you? I never want to see the person who treated me like a tool again. Let us not see each other again. From Lariette, Serafina suddenly clenched her fist. Crumpling the letter into a hideous ball of paper, she leaned over the windowsill, her shoulders heaving with heavy breaths. A cold laugh squeezed out of her throat. Serafina threw her head back and let out a piercing scream. You sent this disguised as an invitation, only for it to be this. To never see each other again? She lunged toward the window, her nails screeching across the glass. Since when did it become your place to decide such things? Serafina pounded frantically on the window. You are nothing more than my maid for life. Even if you hide from me, I don't care at all. She slowly tightened her grip. Because, in the end, you belong to me. Lari, everything is finally over. Evangeline let out a long sigh of relief. Thanks to you, Miss Unsi, the salon was a massive success. Evangeline suddenly slumped down, onto the sofa, letting exhaustion wash over her. Lariette hurried over to her side. You've worked so hard, my lady. No, I didn't. I only did what you suggested. But more importantly, what time is it? Miss Unsi? It's 8 o'clock. I should be on my way home. Lariette looked down at her pocket watch. Wait, you're leaving already? I think it's getting quite late. Evangeline stood up abruptly, a look of surprise written all over her face. Lariette took an awkward half-step back. I think the carriage will be quick. Besides, it's not too late just yet. Evangeline fell silent, a hint of loneliness flickering in her eyes. She hung her head as if hesitating to speak. Well, I heard there is a custom where friends stay up all night together talking and having fun. If I chat with friends all night, Lariette suddenly clutched the lace on her chest. The sound of her heart thumping echoed in her ears. Evangeline turned her face, a trace of shyness in her eyes. Is it a slumber party? Lariette covered her chest with both hands. It was as if she had been struck by an arrow. Her body swayed as she collapsed backward. So cute. I think I'm actually going to faint. Miss Unsee. Evangeline quickly reached out to catch her by the shoulders. Are you all right? I'm fine, Lariette replied, barely steadying herself. For the Duke's daughter to actually say the words slumber party, she really is too adorable. My legs are a little weak. Can I stay over at your place tonight? Of course you can. I've prepared delicious refreshments, and there are even card games. Just in case your legs really were bothering you, Miss Unsee. So please don't worry. You mean I can stay and enjoy all of that? Lariette turned her head, a gentle smile playing on her lips. Then I am truly fortunate. Evangeline stopped walking and lowered her head slightly, avoiding the other's intense gaze. I have also always wanted to have a slumber party with you. Miss Unsee, the honor is mine. Lariette nodded slightly, a soft curve forming on her lips. I even brought several sets of pajamas that would look good on you. We can try them on one by one, just like we did at the boutique. Since they're brand new, you can take them home with you when you leave. All right, Lariette replied helplessly. She never imagined that inside the Duke's mansion, she would end up as a clothing model. The cards were snapped down onto the table. I won again! Right, you're not going easy on me on purpose, are you? Evangeline asked with great enthusiasm. Lariette was already in her fifth set of pajamas. She sat on the carpet looking exhausted. Of course not. That fashion show just now used up all my strength. No more cards. Let's lie down and rest for a while. Evangeline flopped backward, sinking into the plush bed. Then, if you'll excuse me. Don't be so formal, Miss Unsee. Make yourself comfortable. Evangeline turned her head. By the way, are you really over your exfiance? My exfiance? Lariette was caught off guard. Of course, if I still cared, I wouldn't have filed for the annulment. That's good.
He wasn't worthy of you anyway.
Evangeline agreed readily. So, isn't there anyone else you're interested in? Evangeline kicked her legs, her toes moving playfully in the air. There really isn't. No one you think is handsome or kind? Someone even slightly attractive? Really, not a single person. Evangeline rested her chin on her hand, a teasing smile on her lips. Someone like that. Lariette's eyes widened. Her pupils trembled slightly. A figure appeared in her mind. I can't stop thinking about him. Lariette curled up under the duvet, her hands tightly gripping the edge. He is the only one who ever treated me with such gentleness. There's really no one. Evangeline leaned over. For someone who claims to have no one in mind, you seem to be getting along quite well with my brother. Do you not like my brother? Duke Claudius. Lariette bolted upright. I wouldn't dare harbor such feelings for your brother. Miss Unsee, why not? Evangeline turned her face. I don't mind. To be honest, it's been a long time since. I've seen my brother laugh so happily in public. And when Miss Unsee is with him, she looks quite happy as well. My brother can be annoying sometimes, but he is a responsible man. Plus, he is much more handsome than most of all the men I know. He is probably the most exceptional one. I'm not trying to force anything on you, Miss Unsee. Just treat this as idle chatter. Moonlight streamed through the tall floor-to-ceiling windows, spilling across the spacious and magnificent bedroom. Laurie lay in an unfamiliar bed. It really is hard to fall asleep in an unfamiliar place. Laurie propped herself up, gently pulling up the velvet duvet that had slipped down to cover the other's bare shoulder. But being able to see the young lady's sleeping face is a blessing in itself. Since I can't sleep anyway, I might as well go get some fresh air. Pushing open the heavy glass door, the cool night breeze brushed against her face. She held onto the white stone railing, looking down at the sea of flowers in full bloom below. Wow, Laurie whispered in admiration. The rose garden is still so stunning late at night. The night wind suddenly picked up speed, messing up her long loose hair. Laurie let out a soft cry, instinctively reaching up to hold down her fluttering hair. My ribbon! The pink silk ribbon slipped from her hand, swaying wildly under the starlit sky, tracing a long slender arc. A hand suddenly reached out, firmly snatching the ribbon knitter. Laurie froze where she stood. Dietrich stood in the moonlight, with the ribbon wound around his hand. His blonde hair glowed softly in the night. His expression was calm and profound. I didn't expect to see you again so soon. Dietrich leaned against the edge of the terrace. You're not asleep yet, Miss Ensi. Can't you sleep? Yes, Laurie said, crossing her arms over her chest. Her heart was beating so fast it felt like it would burst. So his room is right next door. We just finished talking about ideal types, and now I'm facing the man himself. This is so embarrassing. And what about you, Lord Dietrich? Just taking a break from work to get some air. Dietrich looked down, fiddling with the ribbon. Miss, there is something I've been wanting to ask you. If you don't mind, could you give me a moment of your time? If you're wondering what I want to ask, I've actually been curious about it for a long time. About your reason for writing to Even. Laurie let out a small gasp. After all, such behavior is indeed suspicious. When I sent that letter, that lady had no one by her side. It's only natural that he would be suspicious, especially since the letter came from a low-ranking noble. To be honest, I just needed a new friend. Laurie looked up again. A perfect curve formed on her lips. I did have so-called friends before, but because of personality differences, I could never truly fit in with them. Dietrich tilted his head slightly. Do you mean the people you associated with before? Miss Lopez and Lord Gusto? Laurie looked up. Her tone became firm. That's right, I have already broken off my engagement and cut all ties with them. Broken off your engagement? Dietrich's eyes flickered, revealing a hint of surprise. The moment I decided to find a new friend. Laurie held onto the terrace railing, with a light smile on her lips. That young lady came to mind. She was in the middle of a noisy ball crowd, yet she spoke to no one. That sense of loneliness was exactly like mine. That's why I sent the letter. That lady was the only one who replied to me. Even though I seemed so gloomy, she didn't have any prejudice against me. Laurie clasped her hands to her chest. A radiant smile blossomed on her face. She is my truest friend. She accepted the real me with all her heart. Dietrich fell into silence. His gaze shimmered slightly under the moonlight. That is wonderful to hear. He let out a soft sigh, a look of relief forming on his lips. It seems my sister's growth can also be someone's salvation. I used to think that I was the only person in this world who cared about that girl. Lauriette's eyes. In that moment just now, I felt as if I had seen something real. It wasn't the dignity of a duke, nor the polite social pleasantries. It was Dietrich himself, showing his most tender smile. Lauriette cupped her cheeks with both hands. This scene is simply incredible. It's as if I've caught a glimpse of hidden plot points that even the protagonist never saw. Dietrich turned around, by the way. What did you think of today's salon? Lauriette snapped out of it. Oh. The salon was absolutely wonderful. The artworks on display? Were they all personally selected by you, Your Grace? Many were chosen by chance, and some were selected through a public call for entries. Of course, the final review was completed by me personally. Speaking of which, did she not complain to you during the preparation period? Dietrich tilted his head, a hint of teasing in his voice. She didn't make any unreasonable demands of you, did she, Miss Unsi? In the Duke's eyes, That lady is still just a child after all. Lariette gave a gentle smile. As I mentioned before, she completed all the work with a great sense of responsibility. Dietrich lowered his gaze, his expression turning slightly complex. This was the first time I entrusted her with such a task. It was only natural to feel worried. If she isn't troubled by such heavy workloads, I would feel more at ease. He seems to be overprotective. Lariette gazed at the man before her. Is it because he inherited the title at such a young age that he carries such a heavy sense of responsibility? If only the Duke could occasionally put down his burden and rest for a while. Lariette spoke softly. Your workload. Is it very heavy? You look a bit tired. Dietrich rested his hands on the railing. I'm fine, this is just my daily routine. Even so, please do not work late into the night. Your health is the most important thing. Dietrich was slightly taken aback, a tender smile spreading across his. The same goes for you, Miss Unsee. Lariette instantly caught her breath. Her heart pounded violently in her chest. I was almost completely captivated by that face again. I think we should both rest for the night. Good night, Your Grace. Please, wait a moment. Miss Unsee, Dietrich said suddenly. Lariette stopped. She turned her head back in confusion. Could you promise me one thing? Let's not count tonight's meeting as the meeting we previously agreed upon. I'm referring to what was mentioned at the salon. The next formal meeting. Lariette's eyes flew wide open. Her breathing quickened instantly. What is he saying? What does this mean? Lariette's fingertips trembled. Of course, when we meet next time, I shall greet you with the proper etiquette. Your Grace. She gave a deep bow. If you keep talking like that, it's almost as if you're asking me out. I'll truly start to misunderstand. Lariette let out a long breath. This sudden sense of intimacy is truly hard to handle. He is indeed a brother who dotes on his sister very much. But this unsettling feeling of excitement, what exactly is it? If I continue to get entangled with him, sooner or later I'll have to face Serafina hidden. Lariette's eyes snapped wide. Her pupils constricted sharply with unease. Wait, even if I can avoid that situation, what will happen to that lady? Evangeline's figure flashed through Lariette's mind. That's right, if Serafina really becomes her sister-in-law, the person who would find that ending most unacceptable would likely be Evangeline herself. I must find a way to change fate before everything becomes irreversible. Rather than blindly escaping the current situation, it's better to stay by her side. Prepare countermeasures in advance to deal with Serafina's schemes. Make a decision. For now, I only need to consider that lady's affairs. Lariette slowly closed her eyes.
This lady?
Is the one I must protect? The exquisite gift box was suddenly opened, revealing dark blue tea canisters arranged neatly inside. A velvet ribbon was tied into a perfect bow, shimmering faintly under the light. What is this? Lariette looked down at the gift box. A trace of confusion showed in her eyes. This is tea produced in the Claudius territory. Evangeline leaned toward her briskly. Brother insisted on giving this to you as a gift. From the Duke? Heaven knows where he found that ribbon, and he actually tied it into this kind of bow himself. Evangeline laughed brightly, her tone tinged with a bit of teasing. Is it really necessary to go to such trouble, just to return a ribbon? Lariette lowered her gaze, staring at the exquisite packaging. I see. I'll accept it with gratitude. Miss Unsee. Evangeline suddenly lowered her voice. A sly and excited expression appeared on her face. Her eyes sparkled with the light of gossip. What on earth is going on between you two? Evangeline crossed her arms, pressing for an answer. Why would my brother give a gift to Miss Unsee? Lariette was caught off guard by the question. That's probably because I'm your friend. How strange. My brother has never had much patience for things like this. A playful smile hung on the corner of Evangeline's lips. Whatever, say what you like. Go get some rest. I'll write to you again. Evangeline waved her hand, turning to head for the door. Even if you reply to my brother, I'll pretend I don't know anything. Evangeline covered her mouth with her hand, letting out a peal of light-hearted laughter. You really are a popular young lady. My lady, no. It's really not like that. Lariette shook her head frantically. Her hands waved wildly in front of her chest. The sound of the carriage wheels grew distant. Maybe I should go tease my brother. It's been a long time since I've seen him flustered. Dietrich sat at his desk, hands clasped under his chin. Miss Ansi helped you a great deal this time. If I let her leave without sending a proper gift, wouldn't that be a lapse in etiquette? Evangeline's face was a picture of disbelief. But I've already had a custom dress made for Miss Ansi, and I personally took her on a tour of the artworks in the Hall of Stars. Aren't those enough? You did well. I simply believe that everything should be handled thoughtfully. That's why I prepared a gift personally. Dietrich sat at the table, flipping through documents without looking up. But this is the first time you've ever given a gift to a woman, brother. That was only because the situation was special. Dietrich casually turned a page. She guided my dear sister to start engaging in practical affairs. Shouldn't I show some sincerity? You know that's not what I meant. Evangeline stared intently at him. I'm afraid I don't understand. Dietrich picked up a quill pen, scratching it across the paper. Fine. Then I shall go give Miss Ansi a gift as well. She turned around abruptly, her hem tracing a resolute arc in the air. Lend me Mr. Douglas for a moment. Dietrich finally set down his pen. What do you need the family layer for? Because our contract needs to be renewed. Evangeline turned to the side, a confident curve forming on her lips. No longer just as temporary friends, but as official partners. Excuse me, Lady Claudius. Lariette gripped the paper tightly, her fingertips trembling slightly from the force. This contract, no matter how many times I look at it, something seems a bit wrong. What do you mean something's wrong? Evangeline crossed her legs, her toe tapping the floor, making a faint clicking sound. I spent several days reviewing it with the utmost care. But this clause regarding the maintenance fee, Lariette held the contract, looking quite uneasy. Oh, I see. I was worried you'd feel burdened, so I specifically wrote in a smaller amount. Is that still not enough? She suddenly leaned in, a brilliant smile on her face. Should we change it from quarterly payments to monthly ones instead? Evangeline rested her index finger against her chin, an excited glint in her eyes. That way, you can buy enough clothes to make your wardrobe burst. Wait, hold on a second. Lariette's eyes widened in shock. What on earth are you talking about? As for me, how I ended up in this state where I can't stop hiccuping. It all started 4 days after the salon. Lady Claudius arrived as promised. Evangeline held a long black umbrella, walking slowly with her lawyer by her side. Welcome. Lady Claudius. Lariette stood to the side, her hands clasped respectfully in front of her. I only just received your letter of visitation. I'm afraid I haven't had time to prepare proper refreshments. Don't worry about it. I brought some things myself. I should have been the one prepared to welcome you. I am truly sorry. Lariette hung her head, wringing her hands nervously. Put the cake away for now. I have to leave soon. Evangeline waved her hand dismissively, her expression quite composed. This is a cake from my favorite shop. I brought it specifically for you to try. After all, today is a special day. Miss Ansi. A special day? Lariette looked up, her eyes full of confusion. Miss Ansi. The accompanying Larry adjusted his glasses and placed a thick stack of documents on the table. Did you think I'd only come for sweets? I'm here for the contract renewal. It brought a formal contract of friendship. A confident smile played on Evangeline's lips. Heavens, this really is a special day. Lariette took the thick document, a flush of excitement rising to her cheeks. I never thought I could officially become. She held her breath, her eyes locking onto the terms of the contract. Her expression shifted from delight to utter shock. Article 1, Evangeline von Claudius, shall pay Lariette N.C. the sum of 50,000 dirks per quarter, as a maintenance fee. What? Lariette's eyes nearly popped out. 50,000 dirks? What on earth is this? Her shriek pierced the roof of the manor, echoing through the quiet afternoon. To be honest, I was completely floored by this sudden development. Lady Claudius? Lariette's hands hovered over the contract, her face pale from the shock. This amount is not small at all. In fact, it is far too generous. And besides, why did you want to pay my maintenance fee in the first place? What of it? Evangeline sat elegantly across from her, poised and composed. Aren't we going to deal with Miss Lopez together? She raised her teacup, a cold look of determination in her eyes. You need a proper battle outfit. A gown so magnificent it will drive her absolutely insane. Is there a problem with that? I have plenty of money. I just want to invest in someone I like. Evangeline set down the teacup, the porcelain clinking sharply. But as I said, this is also for my own sake. After all, we're making an appearance together. Within my domain, everything must be kept in perfect order. She suddenly paused. That last part was meant for my flowers. Evangeline cleared her throat, resting her chin on her gaze wavering slightly. That includes you. I suppose I should refine the scope to living beings. Anyway, hurry up and sign it. The Claudius family is the wealthiest in the empire, so don't worry about it. She pushed the contract to the center of the table. I am the lady's first friend. Since that's the case, she picked up the quill, her hand gliding swiftly across the parchment. I will only ever use this money when I am with you. In that case, it'll end up picking out every single thing you wear. You know that, right? A playful smirk played on Evangeline's lips. You won't regret saying that, will you? Never. Official friends. Clutching the contract, Laurie's cheeks flushed a deep pink. Her eyes sparkled with an unprecedented light. I'm so happy. We're official friends now. No longer just temporary ones. She held the contract up high and did a light-hearted twirl. I'm going to treasure this like a family heirloom. Is it really that big a deal? You're actually this excited over a single piece of paper? Even without evidence, our hearts are already connected. Laurie stopped, a gentle smile on her face. So there really was no need to get this worked up over a contract. But this bears the mark of our new friendship. I just can't help but feel happy. It's like a knight's oath to protect one another. My lady, we must be the first pair of friends to have proof like this. I suppose it's probably something like that. Evangeline rested her head in her hand, leaning back slightly. She seemed unable to handle the other's sheer, pure passion. You think so too? Right, and just so happy. Laurie laughed joyfully, her eyes crinkling into crescent moons. Miss Unsi, to celebrate the signing, let's head out right now. What do you say? She took a long parasol from the maid. You mean we're using the maintenance fee immediately? We're not just looking at clothes today. The one who needs to show off a keen eye isn't me. It's you, Miss Unsi. She stood tall, looking directly at the girl. Me, Laurie pointed at herself, looking utterly confused. That's right, I need you to help me with a certain matter. You'll come along. Right, it would be my honor. She looked up suddenly, a radiant smile on her face. Her eyes were shining with excitement. Sunlight bathed the bustling streets. The carriage stopped before a sophisticated boutique. Between these two, Evangeline gestured to both options. She held up an exquisite teacup in each hand, her fingertips steadily supporting their bases. And this one, which one do you think is prettier? Personally, I prefer this one. Lariette reached out her finger and pointed toward the crimson teacup. So, the thing you needed help with was picking out teaware. That's actually quite cute. Lariette rested her chin on her hands, the corners of her mouth curling up involuntarily. Cute, this is a very serious matter. Evangeline suddenly looked up, retorting with a stern expression. I need to select a brand new set of teaware for the manor. This time, I've decided to take over the internal management of the estate myself. And my brother has already given his approval. Heavens, is the lady going to manage the estate herself? This is a golden opportunity to solidify her status. Just as you said, this is indeed a very serious and significant matter. In that case, instead of just listening to my opinion, why not consider the people who will actually be using these things? Also, don't just look at this one shop. You should compare prices from different merchants. This is internal business of the ducal house. I shouldn't overstep my bounds. Lariette stopped abruptly, closing her eyes with an embarrassed, wry smile. I'm sure you already have your own plans in mind, my lady. You're not overstepping, Miss Ansi. I want to hear your thoughts. Miss Ansi. Evangeline suddenly leaned in, staring straight into Lariette's eyes. Her tone firm and sincere. Since we're on the subject, if you could help me like you did with the salon, that would be wonderful. Evangeline rested her chin on her folded hands, a spark of expectation in her eyes. She's actually using her beauty to tempt me. This is totally playing dirty. Lariette whipped her head away, her cheeks turning bright red. She waved her hands frantically in front of her. That time was just an emergency. But this is the internal management of the ducal house. An outsider like me shouldn't interfere so brazenly. My brother has already approved it. Hay's already given permission for you to assist me. Wait a moment. Lariette froze in place, her mind going completely blank. Approved? The Duke? He actually allowed me to interfere in internal affairs? Why do you both trust me so much? Lariette let out a long wail toward the sky, falling into a state of near-breakdown confusion. Her lament echoed through the street. Dietrich was sitting at his desk, focused on processing official documents. My ears are suddenly so itchy. I feel like someone is talking about me behind my back. Lariette turned away, her expression looking somewhat worried. My lady, you shouldn't let an outsider handle domestic affairs. Even if the Duke permitted it, this is still... Evangeline put her hands on her hips. Why would Miss Ansi be an outsider? You are my friend. Lariette lowered her head slightly. Even so, I cannot just interfere in the estate's internal affairs without authorization. Evangeline took a step forward, her skirt swaying gently with her movement. It's just the estate budget, anyway. And I genuinely want to learn from you. Because you have an excellent eye and a great sense for accounting. Evangeline stopped walking, recalling the time she prepared for the salon. Back then, being with Miss Ansi, I felt like I finally had a place where I could be useful. Like I could really contribute something. Lariette folded her hands in front of her, her expression looking a bit flustered. My lady, Evangeline turned her head. Oh, that's right. If you also need to be compensated for this. Lariette suddenly lunged forward and gripped Evangeline's arms tightly. I'll do it. My lady, so please don't mention money ever again. Evangeline gazed at the face right in front of her, her lips curling into a slight smile. Then I'll be counting on you again, Miss Ansi. Evangeline picks up her teacup. Shall we start with some market research? Lariette nods slightly. Sounds like a plan. I've already prepared a list. Evangeline leans in closer, a look of excitement in her eyes. Today, we'll start with furniture, wallpaper, and tableware. And the flowers for the garden, too. Lariette's eyes widen. You're not planning to buy all of that today, are you? Evangeline spreads her hands. Before we decide to buy anything, we have to look at all kinds of different styles. Besides, today is just for a casual stroll. Lariette watches her skip away excitedly. She's as thrilled as a girl who just moved into her first apartment. Even though I know the Claudius family possesses astronomical wealth, it seems that from today on, she has a bit of a tendency to splurge. I should start correcting that habit of hers right now. Lariette reaches out and grips the doorknob, the click of the latch echoing sharply. Fine, we'll look at everything, but we are buying absolutely nothing. You're just window shopping today. Understood? Evangeline lifts her chin slightly. Of course, I'm a woman of my word. A few hours later, Lariette hunches over, leaning heavily on the handle of her parasol. Her body is trembling slightly from exhaustion. My arms and legs are shaking. We've walked way too much. That florist was finally the last stop. I really let my guard down, just because we weren't shopping for dresses. She sat in a chair and tested it 41 times, checked every single item in the tableware shop, and even started a debate over the wallpaper. Until she finds something she likes, she absolutely will not rest. Lariette stops in her tracks, watching Evangeline a short distance away. Even so, seeing her so happy makes me happy too. Lariette stops walking and turns her head toward a glass display case. Her gaze is drawn to an object on the counter. Wow, this fountain pen is beautiful. It looks so elegant, as if only someone beautiful should use it. Lariette gazes at the exquisite patterns on the pen, lost in thought. The Duke, would he use something like this in his office? Lariette's eyes widen slightly, her eyelashes fluttering. Come to think of it, he included a ribbon when he gave me that gift. I need to return his handkerchief, so maybe I should give him a gift in return. Evangeline silently approaches and whispers in her ear. What are you looking at? Lariette jolts in surprise, her body jerking violently as she lets out a small scream. Evangeline tilts her head, watching the shaken Lariette. What? Why are you so spooked? It's a fountain pen. Do you want to buy it? Lariette clutches her chest, trying to calm down, her fingertips trembling slightly. Oh, it's not for me. Would the Duke of Claudius use a pen like?
He is such a dignified person.
So I wonder if this design might be inappropriate. Evangeline stops and looks Lariette straight in the eye. Do you want to give my brother a gift, Miss Ansi? Lariette hurriedly waves her hands, her cheeks flushing slightly. Well, he did give me that tea last time. Evangeline rests her chin on her hands, a playful smile on her lips. Is this a gift completely devoid of romantic feelings? How suspicious. Lariette explains frantically. I just thought this design really suits the Duke. Ah, this one is perfect for him. My lady, what about this one? I thought we weren't buying anything today. No, what I mean is, if I were to give this to you as a gift, if you're just trying to give me something in return, then don't buy it. Lariette fell silent. Evangeline let out a soft laugh. Just kidding. This pen really is beautiful. It certainly would suit him. Try giving it to my brother. I'm sure he'll like it. Aside from formal gifts between noble families or the imperial family, he rarely receives personal gifts like this. After all, he's a man who only knows work. Laird showed a look of surprise. I thought he would receive many gifts from young ladies. That's quite surprising. Evangeline rested her fingertip against her chin. Well, in the past, he did receive many courtship gifts and letters. But my brother would reject them outright, or return anything expensive. Once that reputation spread, now people send invitations at most. I suppose everyone is content with admiring him from a distance now. Lariette fell into thought. That's right, in the original novel, the Duke only had eyes for Syrah. I had no idea that he would even avoid gifts from ladies. Lariette reached out. Her fingertips lightly brushed the edge of the display case. But my gift is only to return the favor for the handkerchief. So it should be fine, right? Evangeline suddenly grabbed Lariette's shoulders. What are you doing? Aren't you going to buy it? Lariette's body stiffened. Her eyes were a bit panicked. Evangeline took Lariette's hand. Hurry, before someone else grabs it. Lariette was dragged toward the counter. Her footsteps faltered. Okay, fine. Lariette held the heavy wooden gift box. Exquisite metal decorations were inlaid on the lid. It made a soft clinking sound. Lariette stared at the box in her hands. She ended up pressuring me into buying it after all. Evangeline rested her cheek on one hand. A sly smile curled the corners of her lips. I'll pretend I don't know about this until Miss Ansi gives it to my brother. Lariette watched her excited companion. She seems even more excited than I am. Just what exactly is she planning to pretend she doesn't know? Thank you for seeing me home. My lady, Evangeline pushed open the carriage window. It's fine. I'll send a carriage for you tomorrow as well. Lariette stood in front of the mansion. She watched the ornate carriage drive away. Have a safe trip.
See you tomorrow, my lady.
Get some good rest.
Miss Unsi.
Lariette stood on the steps, waving her arm vigorously, until the silhouette of the carriage vanished down the street. Lariette let out a giggle. She looked a bit smug. While she wasn't looking. I bought a gift for her too. I'll give it to her before class tomorrow. I wonder if she'll like it. A rustling sound came from the bush. A figure slowly emerged. Lari, you're finally here. Sierra stood under the shadow of the trees. Her expression was dark. We need to talk. Lariette stopped abruptly. Her eyes were filled with shock. What? Why are you standing here? More important, did you not read my letter? I said we shouldn't see each other anymore. Sierra took a step forward. Exactly. That letter is precisely what I want to talk about. Sierra suddenly reached out. She grabbed Lariette's wrist in a death grip. Her movements were rough and determined. Amy let out a cry. My lady, the gift box in Lariette's hand slipped. It hit the ground with a thud. Lariette turned her head, struggling to maintain her composure. Reassuring the maid behind her, it's all right. Amy, I'm just going to talk with her for a moment. I'll be back soon. Please tidy these things up. I've never seen Miss Lopez like this before. I know exactly what made her so angry. Will my lady be all right? Lariette was dragged through the bush. Branches scraped against the hem of her dress, making a rustling sound. Lariette stared at Serafina's back, her mind clouded with doubt. Why would someone so obsessed with her image act so aggressively, especially in front of others? Serafina finally came to a halt. Since when did it start? Serafina glared at her, her eyes filled with a chilling coldness. Since when did you stop caring about me? Was it from the tea party at the Johnsons? Or even before that? Lariette's brow furrowed. Why are you asking this now? Serafina grew agitated. These questions won't solve the issues between us. A twisted smile played on Serafina's lips. Now, you're saying now? Of all the times to say that? Serafina took a step forward, her dress rustling sharply against the grass. Why are you pushing me away? Before, no matter what I asked, you would always smile and say yes. You clearly said you liked being with me. Serafina suddenly lunged forward, her hands pinning Lariette's shoulders with a death grip. Her face contorted, her eyes filled with madness and indignation. You never complained once all these years. And now you suddenly say you don't like me anymore. Why did you go to Lady Claudius? You are always on my side. You are my friend. Serafina let out a piercing scream, her voice echoing through the woods. You belong to me. Lariette froze in place, staring at the unfamiliar face before her. The Serafina who always spoke with such delicate words was actually saying things like this. Lariette's breath hitched. She has finally shown her true face. The story of the original novel is completely falling apart.